Ooh, F5. I remember Naka once played this F5 against me in like a really bad position. It was like a 960 game, and he's basically like getting mated, but he plays F5. Like everything is open, and then I couldn't figure it out. But oh man, Fortnick with the fist pump.
Okay, so rook d8. Rook d8's the move. Will he find it with 4 seconds?
F6. This knight on c2.
No, he doesn't.
C1. Rook c3. Oh no, this is not going to work for black. Knight on a1 is too. Knight on c2 is too good.
b3 is a nice hope, but there's rook a3. White
throws another check. Knight a3. He covers the pawn on a light square. David's all over.
Yeah.
Bach knows that he's going to resign. Unbelievable time scramble. Look at Wesley so relieved. Dang.
I mean, with 30 seconds, this is nerve-wracking for me, Kostya. I would not want to do this with 2 seconds.
This is very hard for white now. I mean, like, white's pawn's under control. White has to make sure he doesn't allow it. There we go. The king d1 there. King d1 could have been winning on the spot.
Yeah. Again.
King d1 again.
And he finds it this time. He finds it this time. Dubov is upset.
Promote. Just give the check. That's it. Wow, he blew it. He allowed this king d1 multiple times. And that's it. His king is not getting to the g pawn. Black is taking it, and Paravian wins the game. Rook e4 own.
Finds it.
What does Vedoseyev do? He doesn't see a move. He's got 6 seconds.
I don't see it either. And he allows mate in 1.
Oh no. Wow, Hikaru, he just finds the trick there. Unbelievable. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty confident
equals
the move
knight.
before bishop
knight.
d3 was correct.
Promote to a knight, and then there might be some way to give up.
Oh my gosh. In the last position, promote to a knight, and white plays king h3.
Maybe that's what Fedosey was trying to
Then he's
do.
got
Maybe
bishop f1.
He messed up the auto queen.
Maybe he's trying to promote, yeah, and couldn't get control over that.
Yeah, you just gotta hit alt, guys. Public service announcement. You hit alt, and then he gives you the option. Oh boy. Oh man, this and Naka. I think he can just like shuffle back and forth. Like, I mean, obviously he's gonna find good moves here, but he can just like you can just chill. I mean, how long can you play on 4 seconds?
We're about to find out. Let's see Wesley kick into that other gear he had. That other gear he had, he wouldn't have needed his first 50 seconds.
Right. Now another pair of knights.
No, oh my God.
Oh, he flagged. Oh no. Wesley.
Happy Saturday, everybody, and welcome to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. It is week 21. Can't believe we've already had 20 weeks of RCC action. I'm your host, Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky. Alongside me today, it's always a pleasure to be commentating with Grandmaster Irina Krush. Irina, welcome to the show.
Hi, Danya. I'm so excited to be commentating on this event. This is chess.com's flagship event for Rapid and Blitz Chess. The players are playing for 25 weeks of a regular season in the hopes of qualifying to a finals event, which will be happening at the end of August this year. So I just love the whole concept that chess.com has brought here of allowing the top players in the world to showcase their skills in Rapid and Blitz Chess.
Yeah, the time control, the format, everything is absolute maximum hype. And the RCC has definitely lived up to expectations thus far. And as Irina pointed out, the Grand Prix points gained throughout the 25 weeks of chess all add up. 12 players qualify through the Grand Prix point system. 4 players qualify through wildcard choices. Now, on Saturday, it is a Saturday Swiss. There are 9 rounds. The time control is 10+0. There is no increment. So it's Flagger Day Saturday. That did not roll off my tongue. In any case, it's 9-round Swiss, and the top 8 players qualify for the Sunday knockout. There's also a lot of Grand Prix points at stake. Irina, 10 points for first place, and it's all about consistency throughout the long season.
Yeah, and most consistent player so far and consistent in his success has been Hikaru Nakamura, who has won already $57,500 over these weeks. And he's followed by Dmitry Andreikin, Fabiano Caruana, Daniil Zubov, Levon Aronian, and Vladimir Fedoseev. We also see Jeffrey Xiong up there. And we're probably going to be seeing a lot of these players playing again today, right, Danya?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's playing. I don't think Hikaru is playing. I don't think Hikaru is playing in this RCC, which is music to the ears of almost everybody else in this tournament.
Yeah, I was watching Hikaru commentate on the RCC last weekend on his channel. It was pretty cool to see how effortlessly he just talks about the games as he's playing them, right? I mean, because the players are not required to do that. I mean, they're just required to be on the video, not actually talking about the games, but he's able to do everything at once and still win.
Yeah, I mean, it's been unbelievable, but the games, they have begun. We've got 9 rounds to cover. We've got a 10+0 time control. Fabiano Caruana, Dmitry Andreikin, Vladimir Fedoseev, Wesley So, all of the big names are in this tournament.
All right, so which game are we going to start with, Danya?
All right, well, let me see if I can pull those games up.
Fair Chess on YouTube is Andreikin and Big Fish is Fedoseev. Okay, so some of these players are, they're quite well known to me. Their handles on ICC, on chess.com.
Yeah.
I'm so old school, Danya, that,
I know. No, hey, I grew up on ICC, so
yeah.
I totally get it. Well, we have here in front of us the game between Hans Neiman, who is facing Fabiano Caruana. I mean, the great thing about the RCC is that the top guys have such a tough go of it. And in the very first round, they're already facing players like Hans Neiman.
Yeah, actually, I love this matchup. I mean, Hans Neiman is a really exciting, up-and-coming American player. I mean, I would call him up-and-coming. I mean, I feel like he's already pretty much, arrived at the top of the chess world. So, he's not going to be an easy opponent for Fabiano. And Hans, close to 2,700 rated already in classical chess, playing, lots of the big events in the world, winning a lot of tournaments recently. Mm-hmm. So here he's playing the Catalan opening.
He's playing the Catalan, so he's given up a pawn. But this is very, very typical Catalan compensation, where white has control over the c5 square, and Fabi decides to give the pawn back. He goes knight a6. White could take that pawn on c6. And I'm not exactly sure what black has planned against that. I guess it's bishop d7.
Yeah, and white can also take the pawn on b5, and I guess there was knight b4 there. But Fabi went ahead. He went to take the c6 pawn, bishop d7, and now this queen has to find a home. So to me, d6 looks like an obvious square, but he went back to c3, hitting the a5 pawn. I mean, I guess at first glance, it does look like white will have some pressure if white's able to play knight e5. He has that center pawn versus the black queenside majority, but it's very concrete, right? Like those are just generalities I'm talking about. But right now, the white knight is positioned kind of strangely on a5. It's probably gonna have to move back to c4 soon. Yeah.
So, and I mean, white has to make sure that he doesn't lose the knight. The queen is hanging. You have only 2 squares on which the queen is going to keep defending the knight. And Fabi just seems really, really confident. He spent barely over a minute, already 16 moves. And I'm wondering if he has tactics related to a move like knight c5, which essentially will force a knight trade.
That seems like a really nice move, because it would be nice, I think, to separate the white d pawn from the rest of their pawns. Okay, he didn't go for that.
Just do it.
Yeah, rook b8, and I mean, knight c5 definitely looked nice to me. And kind of connecting the black queen and rook there on the a5 knight, and just getting rid of it. So he goes rook a b8, rook c1. And so what is white's plan here? I mean, I suppose knight e5 still must be the main idea. Knight e5 trying to get to the c6 square.
Yeah, the reason I was advocating for knight c5 is because I think you pointed this out. I think positionally black is worse. I mean, white's got better central control. The c6 square is a problem. The prospect of white playing e4. So I actually think Fabi has to be very careful here.
Yeah, it's interesting that and also he has this knight on a6 that he needs to figure out something with. I mean, it can go to b4, but I would say that also the knight on d5 is not super stable, right? Because there's always pawn e4. And that's why I guess he moves that knight off of d5 in anticipation for e4. But, then he's actually still left with that poor knight on a6.
Yeah, that knight is neither here nor there. Queen e7 by Fabi. The eval bar continues to creep up in White's favor. And
Yeah,
Hans instantly plays knight b2.
Yeah, I think he really missed that chance that you were pointing out, Danya, where like he had that chance to play this game.
Yeah, it was at this point where knight c5, because of the threat of knight b3, White has to trade. I mean, and this, you can offer a draw here. Black's not worse, no question about it.
Yeah.
So surprising that Fabi didn't pick up on this. Now he's lost a pawn and he's in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, there's no compensation at all. It's just a matter of, White's technique. Of course, it's not easy to convert when there's pawns only on one side of the board, right? But the more pawns there are, the better your chances. Right now, there's still five against 4. So I would not say that this would be like an easy save for Fabi.
No, and definitely not the way that he wants to start the RCC. I mean, Hans Neiman is a nightmare pairing in round 1 when you're still trying to warm up. But good winning chances here with absolutely no risk for Hans Neiman. We'll keep an eye on this game as he tries to convert his extra pawn. Shall we have a look at some of the other top players here? We've got Wesley, Jeffrey. Maybe we can.
Let's go to Jeffrey. I like. Oh yeah, you chose him. All right, there you go.
I know. Great minds think alike.
Yeah, no, I really like Jeffrey. I also really like him as a commentator, Danya. I've watched him like a number of times on chess.com, and I just think he's great. Brings like so
fantastic.
Brings so much insight. In fact, I really enjoyed watching you with Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, Jeffrey's so fun to commentate with. It's such a privilege that we get over 2,700 players to commentate and share their thoughts. And Jeffrey's also just really funny. So he's great. Big sports fan.
So what do we have here? So we have kind of like in the Caruana game, one side is down a pawn, and that is black. So Jeffrey's down a pawn. And again, I mean, okay, does he have compensation? Well, he has play against, this pawn on b3.
Right.
Yes, Renat just protects. And, of course, White's pawn on d4 is, it's an isolated pawn. It's a traditional weakness. But now White has to figure out how to prepare for rook b8.
Yeah, although rook b8 could potentially be met with knight a5. No, I think this is unpleasant for Black. Like, Jeffrey has all of the trappings of compensation, but because it's an endgame and White's got a 2-on-1, a pawn is a pawn is a pawn.
Yeah, White definitely. Well, first of all, White would love to get that pawn to b5. If it just advances 2 more squares, then I think White's gets pretty close to winning, and then they even get the c6 outpost for their knight a5 to c6. So White's going to be trying to do that, but it's not. Of course, it's not easy to push the pawn to b4 with like all those black pieces controlling that square.
Right. And so I think partially that's why he played rook c8, discouraging b4 even further. I mean, right now it would give up the knight, but White's got free winning chances here. White is not risking it all. Black can't play e6 now because of the fork on d6. And Jeffrey's clock is slowly bleeding down. So in a non-increment time control, I think White's winning chances here are quite significant.
Yeah. It's interesting because I see the eval bar loves this so much for White. Wait, did he just? Oh, there's no bishop f4, but it doesn't feel like so obvious how to improve this position for White.
Can you play? Okay, rook c1 is nice. I think trading one pair of rooks makes the defensive task more difficult.
Yeah, I think White wants to try to bring in their king, right? Because so far their king hasn't participated at all, and the king is a great protector of weaknesses. I could totally imagine White somehow trying to have the king protect the d4 pawn, maybe in order to activate the rook. But okay, right now, that's not what we see happening because, the black rook has invaded on the second and the white bishop has improved himself.
Yeah, entrenched itself on c5, attacking the pawn on a7, which Jeffrey, I assume, has to defend. Or I guess he doesn't have to defend it. He plays e5 and the position sharpens up.
Wow.
Ooh,
Wow.
that's a
I mean,
nice
he wants
move.
to go like E4, maybe E4, E3. Is that the concept here,
Well,
Daniel?
also E4 traps the. This is hilarious. Bishop A7, E4.
Oh,
And
he
the rook is
traps the
trapped.
rook. Okay.
Because of knight E3 check with a fork.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. That concept I can understand.
Wait, what does white do? King F3, I guess? No, but then F5.
Yeah, you're walking into something pretty
Whoa.
powerful there.
Oh, knight C4 and rook D2. That's nice.
He found it.
And now he can take on A7, or he could play like rook B2. I think bishop A7 and then back to C5.
That's really tempting. Yeah.
Corner pawn, that looks really bad for black.
Yeah, because I guess if you go rook B2, black still has a chance to play A6, and you're not quite able to play B4. So yeah, maybe he'll take that chance to grab a passed pawn, bishop A7, rook B3, bishop C5. But then, like, what happens on rook C3? The rook just goes back, and you have to watch out.
Maybe rook B2.
Rook B2 checkmate threats on the back rank. Yeah, you definitely want to move your rook out of that D2 square. It's just very unfortunately placed there.
So in the game, he did take on A7, but he follows up with the immediate A5, just pushing the pawn, which, you know, I've seen worse ideas in my life than pushing a passed pawn that's on the corner.
Rook C3 seems like the obvious move because the knight on C4 is really well placed.
The funny thing is, after rook C3, I could still consider rook B2, even with the bishop not on C5 yet.
Wow. Yeah, you can. He did play rook C3, huh?
Yeah, he did. This is an important moment. I mean, not that there's anything I think inherently wrong with moving the knight. I mean, E3 is annoying, but not that. Oh, knight E3. So Jumabayev just says, hey, take my pawn. I don't care. All I care about is that A pawn.
Or even, do you think maybe he's saying all I care about is the D pawn?
So if black takes, I have a feeling he's cooking up bishop C5.
But you don't think he's just going to go D5, D6, Danya?
Oh, yeah, that is also, I think this is also.
And there's also a little tempo there.
Yeah, little something on the rook.
But I guess, I mean, there's rook D3. Yeah, although white is winning there, we can probably trade, go like king
trade and bishop B3, I think.
Yeah.
And then the A pawn promotes. So everything's winning. Wow, what a game by Jumabayev. He's just taking Jeffrey out completely.
Yeah, that's quite nice. Knight E3. I mean, that's so convincing. I can see why it's hard for even the top players in the world to qualify to the knockouts because only the top 8 qualify.
Yeah, these people are monsters. I mean, you know, your average 2680 GM just plays a masterpiece game and takes out, you know, Jeffrey. Wesley is also still playing. He's in an endgame against Aryantari. Another game where it doesn't seem like Wesley is anywhere close to winning.
Okay, so yeah, actually he has like no advantage at all here, right? There's not even an inkling of it. Yeah.
But I'm curious how Fabi is doing. Let's check back into Fabi's game.
Yeah.
Wesley's endgame looks pretty colorless. Ooh, this is gonna be a long one.
Oh wow. So they're in this stage where white has this extra pawn still. Now they've traded most of their pieces. But yeah, it does. Well, I was thinking it looks not so bad for white with those 2 connected passed pawns, but the computer just doesn't really. I mean, I guess rook F7, rook F4 must be.
It's funny. The engine just says this is equal. Like it's not even giving any advantage. Ooh, rook F7. You were right. You know, rook F7, rook F4. I think was the drawing idea.
Okay, so he goes king G5, and
but isn't there like a check on E4?
Yeah, and then maybe I'll transfer my knight to D6, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There.
But Hans it was rook F2.
Yeah, rook F2, and so he wants to go in knight E4. So what is Fabi? Oh, Fabi stops it. That's tricky.
Oh, that's such a nice move. So rook F4, there's a fork. You're controlling E4. That was a mistake by Hans. He should have given that check on E4 first. Now that ship has sailed. Although maybe he can try E6.
Yeah, E6, rook F7 ideas, yeah?
Exactly.
Although the problem, rook F7 seems to work because if black trades knight E2, black is not able to like stop that pawn. Okay, rook H7.
Oh, rook H7 is nice. Rook H3 check. That's a critical check. And then you can either get behind the pawn with rook E3, or if white goes king F2, which Hans does, Then I don't know.
Maybe rook h2.
Yeah, when in doubt, just
Give
give
a
another
check
check.
and try to get behind the pawn. Yeah.
King e3. We're going to be talking about a 3 result game pretty soon.
Rook e2 and g3. Yeah, definitely Fabiano has managed to make it completely unclear because, I mean, the d pawn is not so relevant yet. So it's basically the e pawn against the g pawn.
Somebody in chat says this is obvious draw. This is far from an obvious draw.
Knight d5.
Very far from an obvious draw. Knight d5 is nice because now the knight holds the e7 square. So in some cases, you could sack the knight. He goes knight f4 check. Whoa, king e4, rook e2 is mate.
Oh, wow. Can't centralize the queen. Yeah, so you have to go to c4. And then the white king, I would say, is kind of out of the action, right? And then rook e... Okay.
Whoa.
Interesting. Well...
Okay, rook h8, knight e6 check, and knight f8. Oh, wait a second. Doesn't the knight cut off the rook?
Why is this still not completely winning for white then?
Oh, because
there's a check on
h3. Oh, and the king can't zigzag. Like you can either keep going back and forth, or you can zigzag, but then the rook stops the pawn.
Where is the king supposed to go? So f5. Okay, so knight f8. And also he has to, I mean, he has to calculate knight g7 or e8 as well, right?
For sure.
But I guess there, like the black g pawn after king f4, somehow king f4, king f3 probably gets to queen. So he actually went for that one. Okay. So
e8 queen, black takes it, and I think just goes g3.
G3, and how does the white? Okay, G3, but then king E2, and then king E4, and you win the pawn.
Yeah, king E4, G2. Yeah, exactly. So back to E6 goes Hans, and I think he's going to try knight F8, but then black's going to give this very, very important check on H3. If white's king had been on C4, paradoxically enough, that would have helped white in this case.
Yeah, that's right, because there would be no check. So the check is really about getting to E3, and if you go to like the second rank, you get checks on the second rank. That's basically. But exactly. I mean, why can't you walk towards the rook, Danya? I still don't really.
Because then I put my rook on E2 or E1, depending on where.
Okay, that's right. When the king goes to like G1, you have rook E2. Got it. Yeah.
Hans needs to be a little bit careful about his clock. Again, there is no increment during the Saturday Swiss. It's a 10+0 time control. He's down to 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. He's just going to repeat moves, maybe.
Yeah.
What a save by Fabi.
So there was no chance to like flag Hans in this position, was there?
I think Hans is trying to tempt Fabi into that, but no, because if you go to the third rank, then you go knight F8 and white actually makes a queen.
Yeah. And then I guess 20 seconds still enough to win, yeah? But just, just kind of like not leaving himself with a lot of time.
Whoa. Wesley's up a piece. I believe he has 2 knights and black has 1.
Yeah, that looks.
How did that happen? Oh, black trapped his own rook.
Wow.
If you look a little bit earlier, somehow Wesley got his knights to good squares, and then after knight A5, the rook is trapped.
Wow, he had to like give away the knight, yeah?
He had to give away the knight, which... Oh, and rook C2 is such a nice move, because black only gets 1 pawn for the knight. Okay, so they go on and on.
Wow.
No, this should be... Oh! Wait, and Wesley blundered it back?
Wait, because knight D3? Are you serious?
Unbelievable.
Wow.
The rook has to keep contact with the knight, and black's knight just goes between D3 and B4.
Oh, that's a really big blunder. That's actually incredible that Wesley missed that. I mean, I guess, okay. But that doesn't
but
really
now the rook just moves
right?
away. Does it matter? Knight B4.
Wow. And the knight on E3 is even so badly placed because it gets hit by the rook when she takes on C3.
Exactly. So like rook B2, rook takes C3. Before the knight was there, that was a check. So white literally has the worst placement possible of the king and the knight. Unbelievable. And wait, this is not a draw. Tari could try to win this, but no, he's going to just trade rooks.
Oh, yeah. They got 40 seconds. I mean, is anyone trying to win this position? Because the strategy is very different when it's like there's no increment.
Aryan definitely, I mean, I think what? Oh, wait, 97. King F6. King F6.
He like trapped his own knight on A8.
He lost. Oh, God. Knight G6.
Yeah, or knight F5. Okay,
yep,
there we go.
That's
totally
oh
winning.
My
King
God.
F5, yeah. Wow.
Can you believe what we just saw?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. What I was trying to say, like with the no increments, that's like the change in strategy. He tried to play so fast, and he made these horrible moves, like with knight h8. Wow. So
He
now
literally just backed himself into a corner for no reason.
yeah, now Wesley, okay, he has plenty of time to win. This
Yeah,
one.
he's got 20 seconds. Ariantari has to be just flabbergasted. What just happened? I mean, just go G6, anything except what King G6. I mean, knight H8.
Knight h8, yeah, that was quite the idea. You know, there's
That's
a game
fine.
going on, Vidit versus Kovalev. Maybe we can take a look at that. Oh yeah,
That's
it's going
gonna
on,
be a
but I think
straightforward win for white. Yeah, enough time.
yeah. All right.
Okay,
Wow.
we have one or two more games. Okay, this one's over. Bortnik wins his first game. And I think that's it. That concludes the games from round one. So we have Wesley somehow winning his game. Dmitry Andreikin, who we can check out in round two. He won as well.
Yeah, I saw his position. He was doing pretty well. One thing I can say is, well, Sevian won, so he continues his good form as Sichev beat Fedoseev. I would say that is rather, that's an upset. And also that's kind of a dramatic game. If you take a look at like their position, he literally mated the black king in a very beautiful way. And yeah, you don't see that very often. I mean, Fedoseev is a very successful player in the Rapid Chess Championship. And here he goes down in round one.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the ERC is such an amazing event. I did pull up the final position from the Fedoseev game.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, this is... And only
Quite
24 moves. Holy smokes. This looks like a Najdorf gone horribly wrong for black. Oh, it was a Najdorf.
It was a Najdorf, yeah.
It was a Najdorf. Wow. Okay, well, the next game is underway. And I'm going to start by pulling up... Okay, well, both of these players have 0 points. Ray Robson and Jeffrey Xiong. Jeffrey lost his first game. His reward? Yeah, you're going to play Ray Robson now.
Yes, his American teammates. That's also going to be, I think, a really exciting match. Ray is a very sharp player. And so here we have Eric Hansen playing against Wesley So. Okay, we got a Najdorf from Wesley So. Does that sound right, Nanya?
Yeah, I think he's played everything throughout the years, but of course Wesley is known for a more solid repertoire with Black, Berlin, Caro Kann. But in a tournament like this, every half point is golden. So Wesley not mincing words, not hiding his intentions with the black pieces. And G4 by Eric. Speaking of violent intentions.
Wow. I mean, I know that on Bishop E3, castles G4 is a move. I didn't really know that white could do it just so early without black having castle. Of course, black's not going to castle right now. He's probably going to go like Bishop E6. And
typically, D5 for black is the prescribed method of fighting against flank play, but that can also backfire.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, because, it's very helpful for black that their rook is still on H8 because white can't go H4, G5 so quickly. They're slowed down by their unprotected rook. So he goes knight D5, threatening Bishop B6 and knight C7. It's a very typical idea for white, thereby, the black knight cannot take that pawn on E4.
Yep, that's exactly right. And the question typically for black is which piece to take with on D5. Like you want to preserve the bishop in the Najdorf, but if you take with the knight, then you walk into a tempo move. So then you have to waste another tempo to move the bishop back. You could also play knight B to D7. You don't have to take the knight on D5, but then this knight is kind of a pain in your what. Yeah.
And another thing you can do is I guess you could give away the bishop and perhaps start fighting for the dark squares because there are lots of good opportunities to fight for the dark squares for black. Moving your knight somewhere, although where would you move it? I mean, H7 is a little bit, it's not like perfect, but of course I do really want to play Bishop G5, right? And actually, Danya, there's even like Knight of Fate to G6 as a positional idea here.
Yeah, and it's very important for black that white can't play H4 here because the bishop's just going to capture that pawn. So definitely a very, very instructive positional idea. Wesley does take with the bishop, but rather than moving his f6 knight, he completes his development with knight bd7.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I'm sure he will move that f6 knight at some point.
Such
pretty
as now.
soon. Yeah, like he definitely, I mean, he's not going to castle into h4. So I think it's pretty much the time, right, for him to start thinking about repositioning that knight. Yeah, a5 is possible as well.
I've seen that idea in such positions, but everything revolves around the dark squares. Like whether it's the c5 square or the g5 square, you're playing on the dark squares here. But yeah, other than knight h7, I don't. Okay, he does play a5.
Yeah, it's a helpful move. Now the white knight needs to kind of figure out where it's going to go. I mean, I suppose it's going to go to d2 and e4 because at least it has that sort of prospect from the d2 square. h4. And on knight h7, or yeah, what happens there, Danya? Knight h7.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you drop the knight back to h7, okay, Wesley goes knight e4. So similar move in spirit, where he's attacking the pawn on h4.
Yeah, of course, because the knight can go to c5, so that is just a way better square. And I guess right here.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That was his idea, a4.
Making big decisions quickly. But yeah, I mean, queen e4, a takes b3. I guess it does look pretty good for black.
And this is exactly what happens, a3 by Eric. And black could snag the pawn on h4, and he does. And he's up a pawn. The bishop's dropping back to g5.
Yeah. Something has gone wrong here for Eric. He hasn't really, well, neither side has castled. But I think at this point, black has better chances of actually finding some king safety with castles. And we might even see it like right now.
Yeah, bishop takes c3, castles, and the knight, of course, has c5. And yeah, the big problem for white is that he has no safe place to put it. In the long run, I'm really worried about the safety of white's king. If you castle kingside, there's f7, f5 type ideas. Wesley gives a check on a5, forcing the king to f1. This is unpleasant.
Yeah, I mean, is he just going to castle right now? No, he can't castle because the rook on h8 is hanging. So he goes knight c5, and he's not afraid of the queen trades, which is interesting, right? Like, because if I were black and I saw that my opponent's king was kind of weak, I would probably not be so inclined to allow moves like queen b5. I mean, sure, he thinks his endgame is comfortable, but it doesn't look like terrible for white after queen b5, queen takes, pawn takes, bishop b3, fe3. I mean, it's not like the worst thing.
Agreed. Instead, Eric moves the queen back to c2. And the reason he's thinking here is because he's contemplating the intermezzo b4. But of course, then he's going to have to take the bishop.
Yeah, b4, then he has to calculate a lot. He has to calculate queen a4, queen a7. So he just took. Okay, so black needs to get out of b4, kind of, even though b4 is not exactly yet a winning threat because of queen a4. But it is a threat that black wants to pay attention to.
For sure, which would necessitate moving the queen, maybe back to d8. And he does, and Eric still plays b4, chasing the knight away from c5. So it looks like white should be fine, objectively speaking, but I'm still worried about the long-term prospects given how unsafe white's king is. Maybe king g2 should be considered.
Yeah. The thing is, though, like the black queen is going to come out to g5, right? Also, e3 there's going to be an annoying attack on that pawn.
Yeah.
And maybe black will go like g6 to take away the f5 square, so you can't trade queens. G6 is overall a pretty helpful move. Yeah, I mean, I like black's position more. Yes.
Whoa, I need to interrupt our analysis of this game. Fabiano Caruana's game against Jordan van Foreest is wild.
Wow, so Fabiano is up a piece. Black has 3 pawns for it, and okay, of course, the queen and the rook, they look really dangerous, although there's no immediate threat here by black.
Yeah, when I looked at this, I thought it was mate, but now it's quite clear that white actually has everything under reasonable control. Black also has 3 pawns for the piece, which is kind of hard to notice if you look at this and notice that white is up a bishop. Black has 6 pawns and white has 3.
Yeah, really important defensive move for white in these positions is bishop g1, right? It's very helpful to be able to block that check on h1 with bishop g1. Because And yeah, I mean, you actually just want to take on c6, I think. You just want to take on c6 and start your own counterattack.
Mm-hmm.
So what is black? How is this equal? I mean, there's moves like h5 black can look at if they want to like get rid of the queen. Yeah, rook a2, maybe to go to queen d2, maybe, or queen, yeah, kind of like start going from the other side.
Yeah, rook a2 is a good multi-purpose move. I mean, you're also attacking a4, so in case the queens get traded, black's kind of hedging his bets. My guess is that white has to take the perpetual here, just because there's too many problems. Your king is just too weak in the long run. Okay, rook e1 makes sense to me.
Yeah.
As a way to create threats against, I mean, that it does threaten.
Well, I found a way for white to get mated instead, because if white took that pawn on c6, I mean, then there was queen e2, queen e1 mate. So there was a, the queen and rook checkmate there to watch out for.
Rook e1 has been played, and immediately Jordan responding with queen c2. And the idea of this move is to control the b1 h7 diagonal. Why is that important? Because if white gives a check on e8, black wants to be able to play king h7. That's a really nice move by Van Foreest.
Okay, so what does white do here? I mean, he doesn't have the perpetual anymore. I suppose there's bishop takes f6. We can take a look. Oh, bishop f6, was that a way to get mated on f2? I'm really good at that.
We could definitely take a look at it.
Yeah, let's take a look at that one move checkmate. Okay. So basically, white has to cover 3 squares here, e2, f2, and g2, and he has to be very careful.
Oh, this is such a nightmare to play this with white, because bishop c5. For a second, I thought he allowed checkmate. The one thing is that it puts the bishop in direct contact with the queen. So black has this weird-looking move, a5, which could really strain white's defensive forces here.
Yeah, a5 does seem to be like an annoying attack from the side, given that white is like really tied down defending his king. It goes king h7. Okay, I mean, I like that move as well. Conceptually, it makes sense.
I like Jordan's practical chances here. Fabi saving that first round against Hans Neiman, and once again getting himself into quite a difficult situation with the white pieces here against the winner of Tana Steel.
Yeah, it's like you would love to get the queens off the board, but I mean, even then you might like lose a 4th pawn, right? So it's not even perfect in that scenario. I mean, I agree. It's like really hard to find the move.
And apparently that was a huge blunder.
Is there, okay, I don't know why it's a blunder. That could be, essentially move f5 for black. I have no idea how that helps, but that's like...
So f5, the queen can go back to f3, but you can first give the check on d3.
Uh-huh.
Then you can play f5. The queen must keep contact with the g3 square, right? So queen h4 is forced.
Queen f3.
Queen f3. There is also queen d2. But queen d2, white plays bishop f2.
Mm-hmm.
There is a winning move in this position.
Oh, wait, let me try to find it. Oh, you showed it. Okay.
It's d4. Sorry. It is d4. Intercepting the bishop and preparing queen d2. That's not easy to see.
No, that's not. I mean, so basically the key moves here are the pawn moves that black needs to make to kind of, cut off white's pieces or misplace them from protecting the king.
He's played queen d3 check and f5, but the key question, will Van Foreest play d4 in this position? It's a quiet move. It cuts off the bishop, and white cannot survive. Would the bishop cut off? No, he played queen f3. Your move.
Yeah.
Your fault, Arena.
That's right. Well, d4 was a little tricky, but I mean, yeah, it was a really cool idea. So bishop f2, and maybe he's thinking like, look, actually, that he'll play d4 here, Danya, because d4 does look pretty tempting even here.
It does. And I guess the reason the engine is so disapproving of this particular way of playing is precisely because of rook e7, threatening some sort of a perpetual maybe with rook takes g7 and queen e7, which I think is how the game is going to end.
He's got it set up because the bishop from e1 even protects the queen going to h4. So he's, actually, I don't think he wants to do the perpetual that way. He's going to do it from e7, e8 squares. Okay. Yeah.
So Fabi...
Yeah,
dodges 2 bullets in the first 2 rounds.
If black's king goes to h5 in those lines, he actually gets mated, by a queen on the left square diagonal.
Let me show a line. Like, let's say, d4, for example, takes queen e7, and you might say, oh, wait a second, black's king runs away. What Irina is saying is queen takes f5 is mate. The bishop on e1, pinned pieces protect. Oh, and he did play d4, and this is exactly how the game is going to end.
Yeah, I mean, nice defense by Fabi. I mean, he definitely walked through something really dangerous in this game, and I'm sure like Jordan will be a little bit disappointed that he didn't take advantage of his big chance.
Yeah, so we can try. Oh, Fabi played. Whoa, he plays
really?
Queen F2. He doesn't do it.
What? I mean,
is he playing for a win?
I think so, because I mean, it doesn't make sense otherwise. I mean, he definitely saw Rook G7. There's no way.
I was going to switch to a different game, but now I kind of want to stay on this one. What if Black just plays D3?
Sure. Yeah, D3 just push. I mean, that's such a weird decision by Fabi. I mean,
Fabi
D3
just seems totally discombobulated in the first 2 rounds. Rook A2 and D2.
Yeah, and he's going to be down like a bunch of pawns. That was crazy.
This is over.
That was so strange. I mean, because he put the rook on E7 clearly with the idea of making the draw, and then he decides against it just in order to lose. Wow.
Very, very strange. And the pawns are overwhelming here. Bishop F2 is forced, but then Black plays D2 and then H5 and H4, and you know the pawns are totally unstoppable. Jordan Van Foreest is very, very likely to win this game. Strange decision making for Fabi. But okay, I guess we can quickly take a look at some of the other games. Clemente Sichav, who beat Fedoseev, is now facing Vidit Gujarati in a game that I think is likely to end peacefully given the opposite colored bishops.
Yeah, it's interesting. White's up a pawn here, but okay, their extra pawn is a backwards pawn that can't really advance. And now Black is preparing, I think, to play just bishop D5 and initiate a bunch of trades on the E file. And I guess that's what you mean, Danya, when you say that you think it's going to end in a draw, because there will be a lot of things traded right now.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at a position. I think people should do that more. Just sort of asking yourself, like, what if there's an open file and there's a ton of heavy pieces on that file, just the chances that you're going to have takes increases tremendously. But White's playing for a win here. There's no doubt about it. White is up a pawn. Ooh.
Nice move.
Yeah, for a second I thought, okay, Queen H7 there's nothing.
Yeah, F6 is a nice positional move. I like putting the pawns on the dark squares, letting the bishop cover the light squares. And he's just, making that rook, go back. Now, I guess, will he be taking it? I mean, I think he'll take it and go rook E8.
He'll take it and go rook E8.
Although you have to wonder, Danya, right? Because on rook takes E3, there might be pawn takes E3.
And then maybe Black can sneak in F5, but King F7 and the eval bar disliking that move. And I think it's because of Queen H7.
Yeah.
And the problem now, White hasn't played this yet, but if you play rook H8, then you walk into rook E7 check. That's obviously losing. And if you take, then White takes, and you actually can't get this queen out of H7.
Yeah.
And he doesn't play it. He plays queen back to C2.
Wow, that's so weird. I mean, it was very strange to allow the white queen in like that. And he
allowed it again.
Yeah, no one wants to go in.
Ayar's a draw. He wasn't even thinking about playing for a win here.
That's crazy, right? That is crazy.
In the meantime, Wesley's just destroying Eric. Look at this position. Eric's king is getting kebab made out of it by Black's pawns.
Yeah, and also Black is already up 2 pawns. And of course, the main thing here is going to be the position of the white king, and all the Black's pieces are actually poised to attack it here. And there's Queen G5, and actually, I guess Queen G5, Queen G2. How does he really stay alive here?
Queen G5, Queen no, it's over. The game is over. And he has got 30 seconds to Wesley's 2.5 minutes. So he's going to resign in this position.
Yeah, Queen G5 looks like a powerful check.
Yeah, Queen G5 ends the game. It is mate and 14, as the engine proudly reports to us. But, I mean, I literally think any queen check is winning here. We also have Alexander Bortnik playing Rinat Jumabayev as Wesley officially wins his 2nd game in a row.
All right, so Bortnik is also a streamer and frequent participant in these tournaments. So he's got 5 pawns against 5. And the problem for white is that his A4 pawn is on a light square, right? Where it's always going to be a target for the bishop. And therefore, his slightly, his better pawn structure on the king side is probably not going to be decisive. Like what happens on, I don't know, bishop b3 here, Danya, is it?
Yeah, bishop b3 aiming for the a4 pawn. He goes rook c3. So I think Renata is sort of treading water for now. Now, I'm worried. I'm going to say something funny. If this game ends in flagging, I think Bortnik would win. Because he's so fast, and he's so much faster than Renat, that I'm more worried for Renat's clock, even though he's got 15 more seconds right now.
That's funny. I mean, you would think 15 seconds is a really big advantage, but
mark my word, Bortnik's going to flag him in this game. Watch it unfold.
All right. Danya, I'll keep your prediction in mind. And at this point, rook a4 is actually, still not possible because that rook is still protecting the pawn.
Renat, move.
Yeah, he's getting close.
Because Bortnik is going to, like, the moment black drops down to 30 seconds, white's going to start flagging. Right now, a repetition is still likely. But Bortnik's going for it. He plays f4. Bishop b3. d5?
King d7. Now g5 is looking like... Okay.
Now Renat goes for it.
Okay.
Ooh,
so
I don't like that. Ooh, okay. Rook a2 check, king e3.
Rook f3 was interesting, stopping knight e4.
I guess I'm wrong. Renat is proving me wrong right now with fast, excellent play.
Yeah, he's trying.
f5.
Okay, how does black get that bishop into the game? That's the question. Okay, here we go.
That's exactly what he's trying to do. But Bortnik's going to quickly take that pawn, give a check on a8, and go rook a7.
Bishop f5.
And here come the pre-moves.
e6. Bishop e6.
He's not going to make it.
Oh, wow.
Even the great Bortnik is not going to make it.
Wow. So Bortnik is getting flagged, huh?
And that rook was hanging. It could have been captured.
Okay.
It's over.
That's it. Wow.
Very impressive stuff.
It's not that slow, yeah?
Wait a second. Don't stalemate him. Oh, make a move. Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. He just barely made it 1.8 seconds. Wow.
Yeah. A little bit slower than I would like, but Renat Jumabayev defeating in round one.
Yeah.
Who did he beat in round one? He beat somebody good. Jeffrey Xiong. And now beating
but
Bortnik
Renat is a
black.
good player. I've seen some of his games in these rapid chess championships. I mean, he's dangerous to anyone.
And lest we forget, he defeated Fabi in the World Cup, winning a critical game with the black pieces in the classical portion.
Yeah. So do we have any more games left, Danya?
We do not. So the next round is about to begin. If you're just joining us, this is week 21 of the Rapid Chess Championship. It's Saturday Swiss. We've got 9 rounds to determine which 8 players are going to move on to the Sunday knockout tomorrow here alongside Grandmaster Irina Krush. It's been fun so far. Nothing has been decided yet, but Irina, the big story is that Hikaru is not playing. I think he is visiting family on the West Coast, and that gives a ton of players who normally would kind of think, I'm just mostly playing for fun. Now they're really looking to qualify. I'm talking people like Renat Jumabayev.
Yeah, actually, so there's not that many players on a perfect score. They're going to start facing each other. We got Andreikin, we got Tregubov, and remind me, who's Konovets?
Konovets is Sam Sevian, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
okay,
nice.
Wesley, hello, wake up.
Oh, he stepped away from the computer.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to see, how about we take a look at, this game is really interesting, and also the Sevian game will be really interesting.
Ooh. Yeah, this game is actually interesting.
What is this? Some kind of like a French? No, it's not a French.
It was Tregubov, of course, Alexander Kostanuk's husband. Very strong GM in his own right. A Gurganidze system.
And from
f6. Bishop d3. Now, most people, I think, would be wondering why white didn't go e5. But e5 is not as great as it looks. Black has knight e4. So he plays bishop d3. And now c5 by Sam Sevian. We got a bunch of trades. And this almost does look like a French type structure.
Yeah, with maybe the exception that, Black's bishop is already fianchettoed on g7. So Well, let's try to evaluate this. I mean, white's development is a bit better. Of course, black has the potential of the center majority, e5, f5. So I wouldn't say that this looks like, a very easy position for white to prove an edge in. Like, despite the fact that the computer likes it, it's not so obvious. Although queen d2, I think he wants to go bishop h6.
Yeah, he wants to go bishop h6 and root out the dark squared bishop. But black doesn't have any weaknesses. So, I think white's slightly better here due to, better placed light squared bishop and slightly more space. But
yeah,
Sam is probably not unhappy with the result of the ooh.
Yeah, I like what he did.
The bishop here.
Yeah, I think it's important for him to keep that dark squared bishop.
They're playing very, very quickly here too. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of decisions that are being made intuitively. Bishop e6 is a nice move. Harassing white's queenside pawns, which are not that easy to defend, actually. Because
b3, you're giving up the b3 square.
Exactly.
Yeah. And b3, well, actually, b3 is maybe, despite the fact that it weakens c3, it's actually, I think, the better move, and he did choose that.
100% agree.
And by the way, he might want to, do you think at some point he might want to just get that pawn to c4, or that's not exactly going anywhere, and it does give up a few squares to black?
So I was actually going to ask, like, what happens if black plays queen a5 and just, this is technically a fork. Of course, the safety of black's king is of slight concern here. White does have this move knight g5 in certain positions.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't create something on the king side right now, he is about to lose at least one queenside pawn, is Pavel Trugubov.
Yep. Yeah, this is very tricky for white. He has to figure out, he can go, so he went knight g5. Some version of that move, I think, was right. I was also looking at c4, queen a2, and then knight g5. So he goes knight g5 right away. I don't think black should let him take the bishop on e6. So that means, well, black can consider bishop takes g5. Now let's say bishop takes g5, queen a2, right? But okay, then
I can take c6 and take e7 maybe. If we pull up the analysis board, I can we can bang out a couple moves here. Bishop takes g5, bishop takes g5, queen takes a2. This is instructive because bishop c6, bc, and I would argue that when white has control over the dark squares on the king side, you're never going to be afraid of a position like this.
Yep. Yeah, he's okay. So he's definitely not going to allow that. And it looks like he moved his bishop away to f5. Makes sense. And now we got that trade on the board. So black is looking really solid. And I think Sam can be happy with how these last moves have gone for him.
Yeah, this position seems to be fizzling out. Bishop h8 makes sense here. If he wants to keep the dark squared bishop, that would be consistent with his strategy. But he plays bishop g7, so he offers a trade of bishops. A draw is not unlikely in a position like this.
I probably would have played bishop h8 in his shoes, just kind of keeping that strategy of more pieces on the board. This one is actually, well, it's fine for white, of course, right? It is quite balanced. And what can white do here? C4 we might be seeing at some point, so he doesn't really want to push that pawn. He goes rook e1. Yeah,
rook fe1. Position is obviously equal. The pawn is nicely placed on c3, restricting the knight on c6. Although the knight, of course, does have the e5 square potentially. Although knight e5 here would actually be a huge blunder. Okay, rook d5. So he's provoking c4. I think Sam wants this d4 square for his knight.
The question is that he's given up the d file, and obviously the d file is more valuable than the e file here. So what is white's idea?
Trugubov. I don't love Trugubov's last move to take on d5, but okay, he follows up with c4.
That's okay. Yeah, that move is fine because because a queen d4. Then you'll just play like rook d1. And here, so he's got to defend a2. How's he going to do it? Queen d2 is a bit passive,
Knight c3, I guess, but then rook d8. Black gets the d file, then maybe white gets a little bit uncomfortable because the queenside pawns are a little bit weak. In the meantime, by the way, Dmitry Andreikin and Amin Tabatabai, they made a quick draw in their game, so they moved to 2.5 out of 3.
knight c3, rook d8. Will you ever be able to play like knight d5? And
Yeah.
knight d5, queen a2, knight e7.
Ooh, I have a cool line to show. Knight c3, rook d8, knight c5. So my worry was e6, and I thought the knight has to go back. But white actually has this hidden tactic b4. And okay, if you take on b4, I do the same thing and I win. Queen takes a2, queen c3 check. And now we're talking about a serious attack. Probably not winning, but very, very unpleasant.
Yeah, I mean, it looks winning from the perspective of, you have 2 seconds to evaluate it and decide whether to go for this or not. So yeah, black wouldn't want to see that position on the board. And what happened after knight c3? Like, what was the actual move there?
He played queen c3 check. So Trigua was just trading all the pieces.
Yeah, that's a little too solid. I mean, knight c3 was actually an interesting chance, right? Like, we had some ideas with knight d5.
But now he might be slightly worse. I mean, black's king is getting to the center faster than his vis-a-vis. And black's pawn majority could be a little bit more mobile. You could push the ENF pawns very easily, whereas white's pawns are just they're not going anywhere. So I'm actually slightly worried for Pavel Trugubov here, who might be thinking that it's an easy draw, but it's not.
Yeah, maybe we can take a look at Wesley So versus Renat, because I think that game looks really interesting.
More interesting than this one, at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have a position that really, now, if I had to look at this and guess what this is, I mean, I would say maybe like some kind of a Sicilian. And we know that it actually, what was this opening?
It was the French.
It was a French. Okay. Yeah. French or Sicilian. Yes.
Yep.
So Renat has a nice looking position, honestly, with that knight on e4.
Yeah. And with his last move, bishop d3, is Wesley signaling that he wants to take that knight? But, it's one of those situations where the medicine is sometimes worse than the disease, because a pawn on e4 isn't exactly, pleasant either.
Yeah, I think he doesn't want to take the knight, but maybe the plan here for white is like knight d4.
Yep.
And then eventually going for g4.
Yeah, the position is very sort of gummied up, and I agree. I think white's plan should be like rook g1 and g4, especially if black's pieces are tied up on the queen side.
And he's got to play knight d4 here, because otherwise there's bishop b5, right? He can't let bishop b5 happen.
Yeah, bishop b5 takes the light squared bishops off the board, and again, this is a French, so typically black wants to trade that bishop. No, agreed. Knight d4 should be played here.
Knight d4. I mean, there's no sack on c3. I mean, of course, you want to take a look at that, but I don't think it works. So knight d4, he played queen e2 to stop bishop b5. Okay. I mean, as long as he stops it, that's fine.
Okay, so knight e4 to c5 is a weird looking move, but it of course would create the threat of knight takes d3 and bishop b5. But I guess that's a superficial. That's just like playing for one move threats.
Oh, but you're not exactly. So, but you're saying like you don't think that he wants to just trade the knight for the bishop just in general? Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you want to trade the knight for the bishop in that version. But I like this idea. Rook g1 and g4 actually looks to me like a very scary idea in the long run. I think Wesley's going to do it sooner rather than later. Okay, knight c5 is played.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. Yeah. Bishop c5 and what, like g4, pawn takes knight g5?
Yes, I think that's what Wesley wants. Wow. I think he basically pre-moved g4. Let's see.
Wow, your thing is, yeah, I mean, that's a very aggressive move, and it's also very thematic. And I agree.
What's scary about it from a distance is like if you play g4 here, after f takes g4, knight g5, you're also opening up the long diagonal, so you're exposing yourself to potential like bishop c6 ideas. Obviously, not here, but in general. Oh, he played it. He played it.
You played it. Yeah, that's the way to be aggressive in this position for white. He's got to open up that light squared bishop.
And Renat with queen b6, a move that I think a lot of people just would not play just because it gives white this, protected passer. But what Renat is saying is that, okay, I'm keeping the position closed. You can never get a rook to g1 as long as my bishop sits on c5, and because white doesn't have a dark squared bishop anymore, you can't really the only way to contest it would be to put a knight on d4.
Yeah, I also like queen b6 because he was stopping knight d4, right? So the queen is very well placed on this square, and Wesley goes rook d1. So I think he wants to eventually put a knight on d4. Maybe he even wants to go, well, not bishop b1 just yet. Yeah, can't actually go bishop b1 because there's this bishop b5 idea constantly.
Okay, so bishop c6, a move that we had pointed out earlier. And the question now is, can white get away with knight? Ooh, yes, white can get away with knight d4, because if you take twice,
bishop f5,
bang, and I win the rook on c8, or the exchange, I suppose, technically. But I think knight d4 is on the board.
Okay, that's a very important move for Wesley, yeah? Because if it succeeds, then...
Oh!
What?
Oh!
Really? You went for this?
Wondered it. Or did he? No, queen c4. But isn't the bishop e6 check takes and king g1? No, what is this? Bishop e6 check. I understand that Renata's not actually losing the exchange here, but he's going to lose a pawn in the endgame.
Yeah, he is. Well, I think it's easy to kind of miss that, right? I mean, he was counting on this queen c4 move being a defense.
Right.
Yeah, I could totally see how you miss something like that.
This actually, if not for bishop e6 check, white could be losing. I mean, if you take the queen, you lose a piece.
Yep. No, I think he just kind of was focused on his rook being hanging and not so much on this check and the c4 pawn. So
good point. Good point.
Yeah. A little sad for Renat, because now things are kind of really heading in the wrong direction.
I would propose rook c8 and maybe. Oh, wait a second. I see something ridiculous. After rook c8, I was thinking maybe you can go g5 to try to break up the pawn chain. But after f5, if you take on f1, you get mated. Rook f8 check and rook g8 is a pattern that I've seen. I mean, I've seen this particular mating net before in endgames. But this is just sad. This is sad for Renat because such an amazing start to the tournament and a position that could have gone either way. Had he played, even, had he refrained from queen c4, now he's going to lose the pawn, and I just don't see him pulling this one out. Although, maybe.
Yeah, so he goes g6. I guess he wants to go king g7. The other problem for him is even like the a4 pawn is badly placed, right, as a potential target for white later. And white basically just needs to get their king to e3 to make everything really clear. That's the challenge, how to get the king out. Let's say maybe h4. I kind of like the pawn going to h4, Danya. Some points. I mean, I like holding down the g5 square, and maybe that allows you to play king h2 to g3.
Yep, and then you solidify all of your pawns. Instead, Wesley going for the I'm going to trade all the rooks approach.
Nice. That's a better one. Put the rook on d4, Yeah.
Yeah, either black trades rooks and the bishop endgame is lost, or you allow the rook to get to d4. Nah, the white's winning. I mean, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Wesley has very good endgame technique, so he doesn't really mess up positions like this.
Yeah, you get into a position like this against him, and you're like, regret being born. It's just like total torture.
Yeah.
In the meantime, so Tragubov is suffering in that knight endgame against Sevian. Are there any other let's see, are there any other people with 2 out of 2? No, actually, that is it for players with 2 out of 2. Alexei Sarana, who we haven't looked at yet, is facing off against Jospim.
What's an interesting game? There is Grishuk playing Sichev. I mean, Grishuk is a big name. Maybe we should take a look at his game.
Let's do it. Yeah, especially because Jospim is just like about to win this game. That's apologize for that. Let me pull up Sasha Grishuk's game.
Yeah.
Against Sichev. There it is.
Well, so he is up a pawn against Sichev, but he has, I would say, okay, the bishop on c3 is not a great piece, and black has this d5 square that he's using. So, yeah, okay, white is better. Queen b2 seems like a good move, just forcing that queen out.
Nah, but Grishuk's going to win because of the clock also. He's up 2 minutes.
b5 at some point, right?
Yeah, so b5 here maybe is possible because I think that's what Grishuk is calculating. Takes, and you counterattack the knight on f6.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Queen A1, but Grisha could also just milk Black's clock down to like 30 seconds, and then, just sort of tread water. Queen C1, Rook C1.
Yeah, he
Queen
really is going for the
A6.
queen trade.
Well, yeah.
Right. He's very insistent on that.
Yeah, get those queens off the board. No, Sichev, this is over. He's way too low on time.
Yeah, is he gonna go queen F5? Maybe like just try to escape from that queen trade, or okay, he trades. Yeah. And then what? Like bishop C5. Yeah, that's probably what he's thinking about, like pawn takes and like bishop C5. That must be the plan.
Pawn takes bishop C5. Sichev has to try that, otherwise, I mean, his only chance here, bishop F2? Maybe bishop F2 and rook takes C8, because that counterattacks the bishop on C3. No, apparently that was wrong. Oh, takes in rook D1?
Maybe
I think
pawn
that's
take
it.
pawn takes rook C3, rook D1. Yeah, there's a back rank. And you don't even have rook D3. Oh.
That's actually sick. I mean, rook D1 attacks the bishop on D4. Grishuk doesn't do it. Instead, he goes for this position, which is also completely winning, because you go rook B2 and it's over. Okay. Sasha Grishuk, he wins his game. He moves to 2.5 out of 3. And now you just tie down Black's rook and then move your king up to F5. Tragubov and Sevian are about to finish as well. Sam Sevian is going to move on to 3 out of 3.
Yeah, and Wesley won against Rinat. Yeah, lots of games wound up in rook endgames here.
I wonder what the top game is going to be.
Noterbeck, is Noterbeck done against Dariush Schwiertz?
Is he done against Dariush? I think so. I see only a couple of games still remaining.
Noterbeck won. Yeah.
Vidit is still playing against Mohammad Muradli, who is now a grandmaster, by the way. We congratulate Muradli, who was just an IM a couple of weeks ago. So his GM title is confirmed.
And where is he from? Is he from Azerbaijan?
Azerbaijan, yeah.
Nice.
And Vidit is about to lose on. Look at the clock situation. Whoa, B2, C2. Does Vidit realize there's no increment? Because he's literally taking 10 seconds per move, and he's got 23 seconds.
Yeah, so Bishop, I mean, he's not.
There he is.
How is he doing on the board, though? Not so well either, right?
Not so well either. Black is stopping the pawn on A6. But now Vidit is finally speeding it up. And so is Muradli. Rook B7?
Rook B6, yeah.
B6. So if you take it, then the pawn metastasizes.
Rook C6 maybe somewhere?
Oh, knight D5 trick. Bishop takes D5. Okay, so somehow everything is defended right now.
Rook D8.
You know what I would do here? In the interest of flagging light, I would play Rook D8 and then I would just give the knight up for the A pawn. Because you know it for a fact that that position is going to be hard to win. Muradli, after a long think, goes take CD flip.
Pawn. I mean, it's a tricky position for Black.
King D8. So Muradli stops the pawn at all costs. King B7.
And then King A7. I mean, I don't know. King A7 allows King C6.
Yeah, you need to move. But if you move the rook, you allow A6. Move. Yeah. He's got 17 seconds. The time situation has equalized. Oh, and now Vidit's winning, apparently.
Yeah, knight C4. Oh, knight D7. Yeah. That was a bad decision by him. Yeah, to go knight D5.
Whoa! Rook takes C3. Move, Vidit.
Wow. Is he queening that pawn?
Oh my God, Vidit's so slow here.
Wow. This is crazy.
Oh, King B5. Black wins.
Wow.
Did you see that? If White had promoted, Black would have taken the knight and skewered the queen. Whoa,
yeah,
queen.
I saw that.
Oh,
who's gonna win this game?
Vidit's gonna flag. Black still is a pawn.
Wow. So basically, it's Muradli who won, right?
Oh, but you see, Vidit on camera there was just like disgusted.
Yeah.
Muradli wins.
Yeah.
Whew. Unbelievable. But that was sad. That detail was super cool, actually. The fact that, like, at the end, knight c5 is a mistake. White is winning here with, I think, king c7. But this Black takes and scores the queen.
Well,
Okay.
they're really exciting. You gotta manage the clock, right, Danya? You can't get down to a few seconds. Let me ask you something. I mean, from your experience at watching this, right? I mean, are the players merciful, or do they just like if it gets down to seconds, like you just play for the flag and that's like just part of the chess strategy, or is there some sort of that like, well, yes, we know it's a draw, so let's just agree to a draw?
I think there's almost a generational gap where players, I think over 30 tend to give out more draws and like draw and rook end games. But the younger players, like you'll have rook versus rook flagging and stuff. But I think it's totally justified when you have when you have 8 spots that you need to qualify for, you got to do what you got to do. And, what I like about the RCC, I like the fact that there are 2 different time controls on Saturday and Sunday. Because Sunday, there's a 2-second increment. And, the players get their dose of flagging on Saturday. And then they're ready to move on from it by Sunday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I guess it's just part of the game. Yeah, you got to be ready for that. That it's literally only going to come down to the clock. You can't really count on anyone to start evaluating the position and, agreeing to gentleman draws.
Right. So it's been a fascinating 3 rounds so far, but it's time for a short break. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's week 21 Rapid Chess Championship Saturday Swiss. Hope you're enjoying the coverage. We'll be back with round 4 of 9 in just a couple of moments.
The Rapid Chess Championship is brought to you by Coinbase. Whether you're looking to make your first crypto purchase or you're an experienced trader, Coinbase has you covered. You can earn crypto by learning about crypto at Coinbase.com. Explore DeFi and Web3 with your Coinbase wallet. Get exclusive rewards when you spend with your Coinbase Card and much, much more. Learn more at Coinbase.com/chess and get $10 in Bitcoin when you sign up and verify your account. Check them out. Use the command sponsor or command Coinbase today and go to Coinbase.com to get that Bitcoin, baby.
This is going to be a real-time breakdown of Danny Wrench's games all time on chess.com.
That's cool. Oh! In the last month, I am playing 83.12.
I'm less accurate than them in every stage.
Yeah.
Man, that stings a little
You
bit.
should
Okay.
do the more game review.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot. Okay, so
Tuesday sucks. I gotta stop playing chess on Tuesday. Oh, it's because it's Title Tuesday.
Look how many blunders there were back in December 2020. And now December 2021, 1,600. Don't look at this number. look at this number. Best.
Let's go to tactics. Mates. I'll probably need to work on these ones. Yep.
Every single rook fork that has presented itself to me, I have found. No one has a higher percentage of rook forks than I do. Yes, correct.
These are literally the knight forks that you missed.
I missed knight d6?
You saw it just now.
What the is wrong with me?
I could have done here and then taken this pawn, and I'm winning because my pawns get held together. That's probably the coolest part about this feature.
Like these positions against Hess. Rook there for rook e2. And he blunders mid and one. Oh my goodness. I'm awful.
And we are back at the Rapid Chess Championship, week 21, Saturday, Swiss. Round 4 of 9 is underway to determine who among these players qualifies to the Sunday knockout. Now, we had 2 players on a perfect score, and now we have 0. Wesley So and Sam Sevian drawing their game in 3 moves. So,
oh, wow. You know, Danya, I was about to say how much I was looking forward to that game.
I know.
You know, given that Sevian knocked out Wesley from the American Cup. Well, I mean,
revenge grudge match, violent affair. No,
yeah.
Berlin draw. But it's understandable because, you know, the players, they hedge their bets. They you know, when they're leading the pack, I've noticed that on Saturdays they tend to play it very safe, and on Sundays, that's when the real competitive urges come out. But we got a lot of other fascinating games. We had Vidit there on camera. But let's switch to Grishuk's game against Alexei Sarana. This game is lit, as the youngins would say.
All right. So Alexei Sarana has this dangerous-looking pawn majority on the king side, for which he sacrificed a pawn, actually, right? So black is up a pawn here. White has the bishop pair. White has that pawn on e5. And of course, black has this e3 square that I'm sure he's looking at and, you know, trying to figure out, like what happens if I put a knight there?
Yeah. And I guess we're about to find out. These pawns on f4 and e5, very dangerous. They're like, you know, if they move to e6 and f6, they're like locusts, you know, eating through black's position.
Meanwhile, white wants to get up the e3 pawn. And how does black protect it? I mean, I guess there's queen b6 he can take a look at.
And that also,
yeah,
you don't want to. I mean, if you can keep that pawn, sign me up.
Yeah, and then you're threatening knight d4 afterwards. And actually, Danya, if we go queen b6, rook b1. I mean, knight d4, but maybe, is there knight d4? Will you just take on e3 and allow me to get my check and go king f2?
Ooh, wait. In addition to queen takes e3, there's bishop take. No, never mind. The e-ball bar is cackling at me from its. And apparently why is because of king takes h7. Oh my gosh. And queen h5 check black and block the check with queen h6. Sorry, I did not see that. But to go back to the other line, queen takes e3, knight e2 check, and king f2, and somehow white is okay. Yeah,
white's okay, and white in fact is better. His king is going to be great on e3, protected on d3. Yeah, with the pawn majority and the strong rooks and everything. Yeah, so okay, that line didn't quite work out for black, but I mean, queen b6 I think is still a reasonable move. You don't necessarily have to follow it up with knight d4, giving up that pawn. But if you go queen d4, what happens if queen b6, rook b1, queen d4?
Queen b6. Rook b1, queen d4. I think rook bd1.
Rook bd1, right? Because you don't want to go rook fd1 because that hangs the f4 pawn.
Yeah, exactly. So you could get a repetition here. Queen b6, rook b1. But with every ticking second, I think the chances that Alexei plays for a win are higher, just because of Grishuk's notorious relationship with the clock. Yeah, Alexei's up over 4 minutes here. That's crazy.
So would you say, that his relationship with the clock is the reason why his qualification rate to the knockouts is only about 50%, Danya? For a top player like Grishuk, I mean, I would say that's not, maybe that's normal. Do you find that that's normal for an over 2,700 player to have just around 50%?
I think if the Saturday time control was 10+2, his qualification rate would be closer to 75%. But he has won the RCC. I mean, even just winning it once is just a monumental achievement because of the amount of hoops that you have to jump through. Yeah. And Grishuk has beaten Hikaru on Sunday, and not a lot of players can hang their hat on that just because of Hikaru's. I mean, I think that the difficulty of qualifying is what makes Hikaru's performance in the RCC so breathtaking. It's not the fact that he won it once or twice. It's the fact that he's literally qualified every single time that he played.
Yeah, that is amazing. Yeah. So actually, Grishuk, after a long think, played G6. So he's actually allowing the pawn to get captured. And was he planning to like trade queens there with queen B6 if that happened? But that didn't happen. So Caruana goes for the F6 square.
But this is a problem for Grishuk because he's just invested a ton of time, presumably calculating queen B6. And there's a sunk cost effect, right? Where you spend 5 minutes and then you don't play the move. And then you're frustrated and it spills over into your subsequent play. I'm very worried for Black's position here. The knight coming to F6 as you're indicating, Irina, and the clock situation, you know,
yeah,
this is not pleasant. He goes knight E7. Okay. Maybe heading for F5 or D5. I mean, depends on what white does, I guess.
Knight F6, king G7, queen E3, knight D5. Maybe you want to like try to trade that knight off. I guess that's the idea. I guess on queen E3, yeah.
Knight F5, I think.
Yeah, looks kind of annoying. It's an interesting move by Grishuk, but still, yeah, I agree. Like the time management was so impractical because I think the only situation where it makes time to sink that amount of time in is when you're going for like a very forcing line, right? Where you really know the outcome of it. And here, the line that Grishuk went for, like this is not forcing at all. Like white has tons of choices.
Right. And he goes knight D6, does Alexei, trying to keep as much tension on the board as possible. Anxiously watching his opponent's clock tick down.
So how is Black going to protect this E3 pawn? What's the plan? Is it still queen B6? No. Knight D5.
Knight D5, and the eval bar creeping
Bishop
up in white's
C4,
favor.
maybe? Bishop C4 is a move.
There's a lot of tempo moves here. Rook AC1 is also possible. And maybe you can combine the two. Maybe you can play Rook C1 and Bishop C4. He plays Bishop C4.
Right. And Bishop now G6. Rook AC1. Right. Feels very natural.
It's a hard move not to play, especially because you don't want to go Rook D1 here and walk into a fork.
Yeah, I mean, you can take on D5 and take the pawn, but I feel like that's a bit premature. You're not getting as much as you can.
Oh, take on D5 and take on E3. But from the perspective of getting like a very clearly defined position, that might be interesting.
Yeah, but then, you know, Black can go queen B6 and trade the queens. And then, you know, your edge in the endgame is probably not that huge.
Yeah. And he goes Rook C1.
Yeah.
And he goes with the A rook. I think a lot of people always wonder why, how do you decide? Well, you need to look at the other rook. And, you know, here the other rook sort of belongs on D1 in the long run. And it also is actually doing something on F1. It's protecting the F4 pawn.
Now, the thing is with queen B6, I mean, it's still a move I would look at, queen B6, because you really don't want to just give up the E3 pawn. Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Okay. Queen, exchange sack. Ah,
takes
okay.
D5 and queen takes E3 though. And okay, clearly Black has some compensation, a good bishop and a pawn. But Alexei's going to win this game. I mean, he's just going to bleed Black's clock down.
F5.
F5 is dangerous as well. And if he can trade queens, then you can play that resulting endgame for, you know, for 8 centuries.
I wonder, yeah, I mean, I guess that is the question for me, Danya. Does white want to trade queens in these kinds of positions? Because, well, you lose your attacking chances, you make it more technical. On the other hand, you lessen Black's counterplay against like your king as well. And he went for that queen trade.
Yeah, Rook C. Oh, and he's going to trade
rooks. You definitely want to do.
Oh, and Sasha fell asleep there on that thread. He had to keep the rooks on the board. So Rook E8 was de rigueur in this position.
Yeah, so he allows this rook trade to happen. Yeah, now, you know, white just plays pawn G3, king F2, king E3, and brings out the king to D4, starts pushing back Black. I mean, it's unpleasant. Yeah, this you can definitely lose.
This is, I mean, 2 + 2 says the eval bar. I mean, the one good piece of news for Black is that the queenside pawns are very hard for white to actually get to. Like, especially if Sasha plays A6. In order to actually win one of these pawns, white will have to bring the king all the way up to B6 and then sacrifice on B7. And I don't really see that happening.
Yeah, and the other counterplay for Black is with the king, right? Like king G4, perhaps. Yeah, although king G4, yeah, he's tying him down to F6.
He waited for you to say that and decided on Rook D6. Okay, G5.
Makes
only
sense.
move.
Trade some pawns. Well, should white take? I mean, white doesn't have to take. What else can white do?
White can play a neutral move such as Rook D4.
Uh-huh.
White can also play, yeah, I think Rook D4 is good.
Yeah, you gotta like push the black king back. If you can make the black king passive, then you win. But
he does take on G5, and now he plays Rook D4.
Okay, so so still, what is our plan here? I still don't.
Yeah, it's +7, but +7 obviously is meaningless, like unless because the engine sees the winning plan.
Right.
But if you don't see the winning plan, then it's not +7. In Rook C4, oh, he's trying to go to C5. So he's trying to do what you were prescribing, which is to try to push the king back and then maybe play H4 and eventually try to get to one of black's pawns.
Yeah, Rook C5, king. So H3 maybe. Yeah, there you go. Now that's a move I can understand. Don't let the king go to G4. Then after Rook C5, you can start moving up your king, and you might actually play H4 there. I wonder. I wonder if you are able to just trade off one more pawn. You generally don't want to trade pawns when there's so little material left.
The result of the game is absolutely not in question given Grishuk's clock, but it's still interesting to see like whether Alexei can actually win it on the board. As you could take the approach of making 50 moves here and just bleeding down the clock. H4 by Grishuk, trying to...
That wins a pawn for white. Oh, doesn't it? Like, oh, actually after pawn takes, you get 4, bishop D7.
Yeah, that's what Grishuk is aiming for. And surprisingly, white has a hard time defending H3.
Yep. You have to go Rook C3 there. Yeah. I was thinking we could somehow, attack that pawn. Pawn takes, Rook C4, but then King G5. Rook G4, King H5.
Oh, Rook D5. So you stop Bishop D7, Bishop C6. Oh, Bishop C6, Rook H5. And you come at it from that side. It's over.
Nice. That's a nice move.
Dang. And Serrano with 4 minutes left at the end of the game. And the guy is just such a difficult opponent in this time control. The pressure that he puts on you from the very first moves is honestly unbelievable.
Yeah, he's on his way to qualifying for the top 12, right? Right now he's in the top 10 position.
Rook D8, Rook H8 is happening. And then resignation is going to be happening.
Yeah, so right here, Bishop G2 doesn't really help out much, probably.
I guess B5 is the last chance, trying to break through with B4. But okay, now the bishop has lost its support. And I think white can win by playing like Rook D6, essentially. Or this.
So he
wins the bishop.
Yeah,
because there's a mate threat, and if King H6, then Rook D6. Incredible. Just amazing technique by Serrano.
Yep. Yeah, he didn't give Grishuk a chance. He beat him on the board.
0.
Yeah, he didn't try to flag him. Nice.
Nope. Not like some people would have done. I'm not going to name any names,
Okay, so here we have Tabatabai. Now, Tabatabai, is he from Iran?
Yes.
He's from Iran. Yeah, we have so many strong players coming out from Iran.
And honestly, incredible. Yeah, just like a total powerhouse in the last decade or so. Tabatabai, I mean, of course, some dude named Ali Reza. And of course, and a lot of other like very dangerous GMs.
Some dude that you play bullet with at night, Danya.
Yeah, exactly. That's his primary role.
It's to be your, nighttime bullet companion.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if I would have known that would have generated as much like hype and press coverage as it did, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Like people were obsessed with it. It was kind of cool.
It
was cool to be involved in a
attention.
candidate story.
Yeah.
And Kasparov was talking about it, so I guess I did something right.
Yeah, you did something right for Nepo's chances to win the tournament.
True. But then if Firouzja had beaten Nepo, all the rage would have been like genius Firouzja, plays bullet to warm himself up for masterpiece against Nepo.
Yep, that's true. I mean, the outcome, of course, determines the storyline, right?
Oh, totally, yeah. And then people were like, no, it doesn't. Like, we would have criticized it regardless. Okay, Bishop C5. So Muradli, who did defeat Vidit, as you see, Amin Tabatabai looking very, very focused as we pan out to his camera.
Yeah, it's hard to know what is going on here. Black wants to take an F2, play F4, but on the other hand, White's D pawn is also really strong. And
White drops to
yeah, he
and there it is. Speaking
doesn't
of
even
which,
bother to capture back.
yeah, he wants bishop b6 and d7, but Black is like coming into Golden Corral and taking one of everything.
And there's
knight h5, knight
checkmate. So maybe bishop b5. Actually, Danya, bishop b5 looks like a good move.
And what if knight h5? Oh, bishop e8.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. So you do two things. But here's the crazy thing. Black can wait for White to play d7 and then play knight h5.
Uh-huh.
But the question is, like,
I'm going to go bishop e8, Danya. I'm going to go bishop e8. Yeah, but look, Danya, I'm going to go bishop e8. You take me, and then I go d7.
Oh, that's sick, too. But he blunders bishop e8.
Yeah.
And Murad... Whoa!
What? Is that a serious move? Whoa.
Oh my lands.
Wow. Okay, well,
4.
I mean, so he's stopping. Yeah, well, he just gave like Black a million strong pawns and got his king totally entrapped. That's crazy.
How do you miss bishop e8? Wait,
I don't know. I thought that was the whole point of his move.
It was the whole point of bishop e5. Now it's over. Black just makes 1,000 queens.
Wow, that's really sad. He didn't have time. It wasn't like he had like 5 seconds to find that check.
No. And I mean, okay, we'll wait for the game to actually end, but what the heck? Bishop e8 check. The game is over. Bishop
just take and promote your pawn. It was that simple.
Unbelievable.
Can we show my idea, Danya, with the bishop e8 move and
yeah. I displayed it really briefly, but let me give it the airtime it deserves. Bishop e8 check anyway is a threat. Knight takes e8, d7, and
wait. How is this not winning? How is this not winning?
I think because Black can play knight takes c7. Wait, no, that's not the move. Oh, can I go knight f6 and knight h5? Okay,
that's so insane. That is so.
That's unbelievable.
And that must be the most crazy position.
And a perpetual check is forced by White. Ridiculous.
But I feel, Danya, like the game would have had a more fitting finish in this way than the way it did.
Oh, definitely. It was quite anticlimactic. Wow. Okay, so it's time to draw some conclusions. We have a logjam at the top. David Paravian, by the way, has also crept his way up to 3.5 out of 4. So we've got a group of 6 players. 6 players on 3.5 out of 4. They include Wesley and Sevian, who had perfect scores going into this round.
Danya, can you identify some of those players I'm not as familiar with? Dropstone and Chess Lover.
So Dropstone is David Paravian, and Chess Lover is Muradli, who we just saw beat top of the body.
Got it. And actually, Traguba has 3 out of 4. That's really good.
He won again.
For someone, who's not like a professional player these days.
Yeah. Motluk Avaparan, Grishuk with 2.5.
Yeah.
Fabiano Caruana with 2.5, which tells you all you need to know about this tournament.
Yeah.
Fedoseev with 2 out of 4, and Jumabayev, very sad. He loses 2 games in a row after such a nice start.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is sad.
So we got Serrana, 2 powerhouses.
Yeah, Andrekin. Okay, so he's going for some kind of sideline Reti, maybe G3, or no, goes back into main lines.
Queens Gambito declined, or maybe a Catalan if he plays G3.
Yeah, Catalan, I was going to say, is maybe a bit more likely. And which line is Serrana going to choose?
Doggolan. Bishop G2.
Uh-huh.
Hilarious pun. Knight BD7. And this is a very typical idea in the Catalan for Black to play bishop B4 check, induce bishop D2, and then drop the bishop back to E7.
Yeah, because the bishop on D2 is not as well placed, right? It kind of, in some lines, I guess, what is it, like preventing the queen from protecting D4?
Yep.
And so
there you have it. Yeah, bishop moves again.
And now, what's interesting? So you can't like take on C4 at some points. Actually, he did. There you go.
E4, B5, and then you have a transposition to a famous position from the Slav. This is a line, and now I think Black is supposed to go ED and bishop B7, if I remember. No, wait.
No, but then there's D6, yeah.
I know. No.
Not exactly that same, but yeah.
Not that. Maybe b4. I don't remember. He goes knight takes d5. I think the person who does remember is Alexis Serrano, though.
Yeah, he seems pretty confident in what he's doing. So he just gave back his pawn and like bishop e6. Well, I don't know. That's just the first one. The bishop b7. Bishop b7.
Bishop b7 makes a lot of sense to contest White's bishop.
Yeah, you can't bishop e6, you had to kind of watch out for all these discoveries, rook a d1, knight d4. So yeah, bishop b7 makes sense. a4.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so when you look at this position, really the main thing wrong with Black's position is, okay, there's actually a number of things, right? One of them is the queen, right, which is what he's targeting right now. Queen e8. Or queen c8.
Queen c8. Okay, so he defends the bishop on b7. I guess queen h5 made some sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, okay, he plays it.
So what is the threat?
Yeah, I would say that White seems to be better here. Better placed pieces, and Black does have a somewhat damaged queenside pawn structure. Bishop f6, though, nice move to put pressure on b2.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously kind of force White's hand and try to force some trades.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out, so where is White going to make threats? Because knight g5 is just not very dangerous, right? Black plays h6.
Yeah, or bishop takes g5.
Yeah. Maybe even, yeah, you're right. Maybe bishop takes g5 and then trade the light squared bishops, and you can't be doing that badly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think trades are probably in Black's favor here. No, somehow Alexi just neutralizes his opponent so effortlessly. He makes.
How about rook d6, Danya? Rook d6, bishop b2, knight g5.
Now we're talking.
I don't know. That way, at least you can't trade, right?
Now we're talking. No, Dmitry does go knight g5. He goes very positional.
Yeah, well, that positional strategy, not quite as poison as Black. Takes on g2, plays queen c6. Starts
exactly what's happening.
The rooks.
Maybe h6.
Yep. Yeah. It's really funny. I see the eval bar is really liking White, which is, a little bit mysterious. Like queen f3. I guess it really is because the knight on b6 continues to be a bad piece.
Was opening my mouth to say that. Yeah. It doesn't seem like it's a bad piece, but it really is, because it doesn't have access to the d5 square. It doesn't. It can jump to a4, but Black's king isn't exactly like the safest either. Especially if White at some point puts a bishop on the long diagonal. Okay, h4, and White's threatening h5 and h6, and you could get mated here.
Yeah, I wonder, can he go knight a4 at some point and just try to pressure the b2 pawn, activating that knight?
If you do it immediately, I actually might contemplate h5.
And h6, you take rook takes h6. Yeah, you have that.
Although h6, rook h6, knight b2 gets really, really, really messy. Because the knight is also swinging back toward d3, where it's going to harass the bishop.
He played h4. He did go for that move, right? So, what else can Black do? I like knight a4. It does seem like the only active move, because you don't really have rook d8. So he went rook c8. Does he want to just go c3?
Potentially. I think he's definitely eyeing that in some situations. He would love to have the move rook c5. Obviously, the square is currently undefended.
How about rook c6? Do you think he's interested in trading off that rook on the 6th, or not as much?
Rook c6. Yeah. No. He's definitely interested in that. I for some reason I didn't pick up on that square.
So that's now h5, right? H5 must be played. Otherwise, what's the point of h4?
Yeah, having said A, you have to say B. And h5 is, what is Alexi planning against this move? Because if you stubbornly play rook c6, you lose the game. h6, g6, and this is the lobster pincer mate, queen f6 with mate coming on g7. Black pays the ultimate price for the weakness of the dark squares.
I'm just looking. Caruana is not doing that well against Maxim Matlikov.
Really? So
yeah. He's really having a hard time today. as well. Like,
Yeah, Fabi has been very streaky in the RCC, actually.
yeah.
Wait,
So
tactic alert. Tactic
Black-
alert.
okay, let me see. What's the tactic? So Rook C3.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that, Danya?
Yep,
Is there
I
like
believe
a back
there
rank
is.
mate? Hold on.
I
Wait,
believe there is.
okay. I mean, is it just, it's not just like Rook D8. I mean, Rook D8 has some power, but
It's similar. So I'm noticing the G7 pawn. If we pull up the analysis board real fast,
oh wow, Bishop E5.
I'll
That's rather mean, Danya.
yeah, well, it's it's what I'm made of. And just to show everybody the point of queen takes E5, there are two problems. One is the G7 pawn being weak. The other is the fact that black doesn't have any luft for the back rank, and this is checkmate. Okay, so knight c4 instead was Alexei's choice. Dmitry drops back to d4. Oh, we don't have to stay on this game. We could take a look at. Do you want to take a look at Fabi's position?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure. Let's go there.
Ugh. This is ugly for white.
Yeah, black has a beautiful knight on c3, beautiful diagonal with the bishop and the queen, and black's gonna have like king b8. It really does look awful, right? Not just like bad, but rather terrible.
Yeah, the fact that black has control over the long diagonal is highly problematic because it means knight takes d4. Yeah, always. Rook takes d4. Black can tuck the king away on b8 if necessary. No, this
all right,
is
I'll tell you an interesting game. We're going to go to an interesting game. It's Maksudlu versus Martinez, because there, white has sacrificed an exchange to definitely get some positional compensation. Like, I see actually the engine likes white, but I wouldn't say, it looks like the game is over. So there's still something to look at here.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
This must have been a Sicilian. I don't know. It feels like, yeah.
100%. This was a classical Sicilian, yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually, Martinez. Yeah, he plays that. That's cool. A lot of respect to him for playing my lines.
Yeah, no, the Rouser is probably, I've always felt like it's the most underrated Sicilian.
Mm-hmm.
Very hard to prove anything, but Parham is trying to prove that his compensation for the exchange is good, and I think it is actually totally overwhelming here.
Well, the bishop on c2 is not the best, right? But the knight on d5 is excellent. So, like, why is it like what are we trying to do? How are we winning here?
I guess, yeah, queen d3, and then maybe at some point we're playing a4.
Yeah, that also opens up the black rook, so he's not like that sad about it. I guess the horrible thing for black is like, well, their dark squared bishop is really bad.
Yeah, no counterplay. Like, you can never play f5. Your rooks have very little prospects. So just in the long run, I feel like eventually white's going to open up the queen side. I actually think rather than going a4, it's a better idea to go b4 and then maybe c4. And maybe even now, maybe you go b4 here.
b4 here is interesting.
You could work on your bishop a little bit. No, he goes a4 after all, which I don't like quite as much.
So now I guess black will take it. I mean, I guess he can also go b4, but
I think Jose is visiting his barber after this game.
Yeah, I think he'll take. I know he just played there, which is all right. King a2. So they're not doing anything decisive.
Yeah, dance of the kings.
Right. Yeah.
King b8, king a2, king a7, king b1. Okay, but black is just, the position is so miserable. One little misstep and white's pieces just fly into the game with devastating effect, and he tries to keep the status quo with queen c6.
Well, look, let me bring you a little ray of hope. I mean, there are some positions, Danya, where black will sack on d5, the rook for the knight, and get into bishops of opposite color where he will be down a pawn, but there could be an appropriate moment to do this. I mean, of course, I'm a little worried about his clock, and it is so much harder to play for black.
I thought you were going to bring on Ray Robson to share his thoughts on the position when you said there'd be a ray of hope.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, how is Ray? How is Ray doing? Does he have any?
How is Ray doing?
Hope in this tournament?
No. He's playing Hans, and they've both got 1.5 out of 4. Ray, let me say that again. Ray Robson and Hans Neiman have 4.5 1.5 out of 4. So if they've got a minus score, you know this tournament is ridiculous. But I think we should at least briefly glance at some of the other top games.
Sure.
We have Samuel Sevian, who is finally going to put Mohamed Muradli's incredible winning streak to an end, it appears. It does appear that way, certainly. He's up 2 pawns for no compensation.
And he has a lot of time. Yeah,
yep.
Tons of time. Yep.
Somehow I feel like Muradli was doing well earlier this game, but...
Oh, maybe we should go back to the Caruana versus Andraken game.
Okay. Yeah, because this one is over. I mean, no doubt that Sevian's going to win a position like this 99 times out of 100. Back to the Andraken game we go. And this game continues to heat up with White's pieces looking really impressive here.
And not to mention that White already has an outside pass pawn on A2.
Oh, yeah. I did not count properly.
Yeah, that's what makes White's position extra impressive, right? Is that he can always win like every end game he enters.
In the opinion of Master Natsukanyan, White is up a pawn.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, okay, the things are looking kind of bad for Caruana. Looks like Andraken is really taking over here. And plus, yeah, Andraken has all these ideas of attacking the Black King as well.
And that is the most typical, like, you know, Russian schoolboy conversion ever. I trade queens and I up a pawn.
Yep. Yeah, he didn't try. He wasn't maybe maximally ambitious with that, but I mean, it's still so good because knights are, yeah, the knight is on C4 is just losing his square. Okay, now
that's just a bad piece sometimes.
Yeah, rook C5 maybe. Possible to consider that. I mean, yeah, what exactly can Black do? Black can't even play rook D8, rook D2.
Yeah, the knight is just, you know, that's like when I used to sit at the adult dinner table, you know, and there'd be conversation about finances. The knight's just like, I'm completely out of my league here. Bishop goes to D6.
Huh.
Or maybe it's not out of its league.
Bishop D6, and what's the idea? Is it just rook D8 and like try to get the bishop if you get my pawns?
And I think it's important to point out to a lot of, especially newer players who might be very tempted by the move rook takes F7 here. There is no actual way to mate, even if you, just because you've got 2 rooks on the 7th doesn't actually mean that you have anything. And you're going to hit a dead end eventually where rook G8 is not checkmate, because as long as the king makes contact with one of the rooks, you can never actually checkmate in a position like this. So just really quickly wanted to show that. He drops the bishop back to C5.
So now F6 maybe? Or
yeah.
knight F6?
Or knight F6. Although knight F6 maybe bishop E7 is nasty.
Mm.
Oh, but then rook D7. I don't know. He goes rook C8.
Yeah, okay. The rook is a little closer to getting to C2.
Also the time. For once, Alexei is the one in time pressure.
Yeah.
Monumental occasion.
Well, at some point, White's going to be starting to push his A pawn, but I guess for now, maybe knight G4, pawn H5, something like that. I actually think, you know, a knight G4, if I were White, I would really consider pawn H5 myself.
I think there was rook F4, by the way. I think the knight was actually trapped there. Knight Knight Eric 4, but now rook Eric 5 looks pretty good.
He's provoking F6. He wants that move to finally happen.
And then I guess rook E7 might walk into knight takes G3.
Mm-hmm. H5.
Yeah, don't go rook E7 here.
H5. Well, you know, actually, there's probably no reason to play H5. Okay, give us up G5.
But it's just the concept of like.
I know it's the concept.
Pawns.
I really want to. I really want to have.
I totally get it. Actually, it's just a move that makes you like sleep easier at night.
Yeah, I mean, people might be wondering why she's only talking about that move, but
you gotta dot your I's and cross your T's. But the problem here is that somehow the knight and the rook is like a self-sufficient unit. Now, nobody canceled the passed pawn. You can still push it at some point, but rook C4, Black's pieces have acquired a good amount of activity here, and Dmitry still with quite a bit of work to do.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, the rook on F3 is not super active. Is he thinking about maybe going rook? Yeah. Wow, he went for this.
Oh, and he gives up the pawn. Oh, that's so nice. Rook takes F2 check. He's just going to slip away to H3. And
I was looking at that move, but I was like, that looks like, something you got to really calculate while giving up the F2 pawn.
I was staring at it, but the point, if just really quickly, this has not happened, but after king h3, f5 walks into rook takes e4. And if black moves the knight away, not only does white double on the 7th rank, but the rook on f2 is also hanging. This game is over.
Yeah,
And
this was actually very nice.
Has to trade.
The rook trade is very much in white's favor because he just gets rid of black's activity on the king side, and now he can like safely push the a pawn.
a4, a5, put the pawn on a dark square, support it with the bishop, use your time advantage, and Alexei will need a miracle here to save this game at this point. Yeah, just push the pawn. I think it's over.
I think Pavel Tregubov has won again.
Again? Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Who did he beat?
Someone named Andre.
Esipenko?
I just see like there's an Andre in there. And I think the final position.
that already means he's good. Tregubov beat Andre.
He beat Esipenko.
And then before that, he beat Aram Hakobian, very strong Armenian grandmaster.
Yeah.
Pavel Tregubov is such a monster.
Yeah.
Shall we say a three-lipped monster?
And Draken's on his way to winning here, but I guess, white's not going to be in a hurry to take that knight. There's no reason to.
First of all, rook c8 is coming, and then knight takes a7, back to a8, and the rook on a2 is hanging. Alexei's going to resign after rook a8.
Yeah, this is not the rook and bishop endgame that you can really save.
No, not against Dmitry Andreikin.
A lot of pawns on the board.
Unless white blunders the rook or mouse slips.
He's very fast, Andreikin.
Yeah, Dmitry is like,
Has he practiced being that fast? Because he's kind of like, he doesn't need to be that fast in this position, but he's like trying to make a point.
King e6, rook c7. Yeah, I think he's trying to show Alexei like, boy, you need to resign in these positions. Young man, you need to show some respect to your elders.
Bishop e7 and rook g8.
Bishop f8. Yeah. Or bishop e7. Yeah, you're right. Oh, and rook g8. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just not here.
Yeah, not in this one. How does he actually? Yeah, he can't go rook g8. So he's like.
I think I know. Okay, he had an idea of putting the rook on g1 and going g4.
How about rook d7, bishop d8, and then rook f8?
Yeah, king flank 8.
Yeah.
Bishop g5 and f6.
Takes on f7.
Oh,
on
yep,
g7,
also this.
Yeah.
All right, and now Alexei's going to resign.
Yeah.
What a game. What conversion technique. And we're going to have a Sevian-Andreikin matchup to headline the round 6 matchups. But let's see. I think there's still a couple of games remaining. We've got Amin Tabatabai, who has just defeated Eric Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
Was just defeated Eric Hansen. Grishuk and Rustemov are locked in a dogfight here. And Rustemov might flag him.
Wow. So Grishuk, he doesn't. Oh, he's okay. He's up at rook, but I don't know if he's.
No, it's a draw.
Well, okay, it's a draw. Yeah, that seems.
Big shout out to Alexander Rustemov has been playing just unholy amounts of blitz on chess.com in the last couple months, and he's improved. Wow. And he's playing in the RCC and acquitted himself very, very, very handsomely.
Nice. Well, I'm looking at the results of Sam Sevian, like in the overall standings. It doesn't look like he was really in the top, at least as a few weeks ago. But it's nice to see him doing so well. We have so many like strong American players coming up these days, Danya.
Mm-hmm.
There's, Hans Neiman. Yeah.
There's those articles about how, if aliens descended from another planet, there are those people who try to come up with universally recognizable symbols of like what humanity has achieved.
Uh-huh.
And so you give like one specimen of an animal and one specimen of food. And then you should give one specimen of a 2700 chess player. And I think that specimen should be Dmitry Andreikin. Like you just put a picture of him, and he's just like the most 2700 ever. He's so accurate and well-rounded and hard to beat. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that, like he is right up there in the standings ahead of, players who are, let's say, considered a little bit more elite than him, right? But I guess in online play, he's really doesn't really give much on the top players, right?
Yeah, and even in like if he had played in the candidates, he would have been a nightmare matchup over the board for players too. So I really sing his praises a lot, but it's just not easy to be as consistent as he is, and even some super GMs do not necessarily share those qualities to the degree that he does.
Yeah.
And we do have Sevian on Drake, and let's see if this is a quick draw or not. I think for Sevian it would make sense to take a draw, but it would also make sense to try to push. He's got the white pieces after all.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's pushing with this opening, does it?
No. Knight c6, knight c5, knight d4, I think is the line. We might have a draw for here very quickly. Yeah, we're gonna have a draw for within.
Yeah, they're just
seconds.
trading all the pieces. That's the only disappointing thing, right? Is when the players, for strategic reasons, like don't give us those matchups that we really want to see. How much is actually enough to qualify? Like, what is the score they're going for, Danya?
So, in my experience commentating, the minimum score that qualifies, so 5.5 out of 9, you sometimes get 1 or 2 people who qualify. 6 out of 9 qualifies you about 80 to 90% of the time.
Wow.
Although there have been cases of a log jam where even a 6 out of 9 does not qualify by tie breaks. 6.5 guarantees qualification.
So let me get this straight. I mean, 6 out of 9 is a very low score for qualification in most tournaments. Like, for example, in Title Tuesday, like 6 out of 9 wouldn't be a lot, right? But like for this tournament, because I guess there's just not that many players, because it's only for the titled players.
And there's more draws at the top also than in a blitzer.
Yeah.
But here's a crazy stat for y'all. Sam Sevian holds the record in the RCC, and he hit this number twice, 7.5 out of 9.
Wow.
In a tournament like this.
That's incredible.
That's unbelievable.
So, Danya, how many players are playing today? Are there 40 players in total?
44.
Oh, wow. So that's a very small group of players. Right now, I get it why like only 6 out of 9 is enough to qualify.
Yeah, I remember this tournament. My student played in this Scholastic tournament a couple of months ago, and there were a lot less players than expected. And by the last round, the guy with 7 out of 7 was playing, the next available person had like 3 out of 7.
Yeah.
So,
that can happen. And this tournament is open to is it all titled players?
It is now all titled players, yes.
Okay.
All Grandmasters.
Oh, got it. So I guess the Grandmasters are busy playing their summer open tournaments or prepping for the Olympiad or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's a very chess-intensive period, but you're going to the Olympiad.
Yep, July 25th.
You're heading to India.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to it? More nervous, more excited? I mean, you're obviously an unbelievably experienced Olympiad player.
Yeah, I don't know how many Olympiads have I played, Danya. I think it's been like maybe already around 10.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not my first time at the rodeo. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Yeah, for sure. Like, actually it's our first Olympiad in 4 years, right? So we've had a long break. It's nice to come back. It's nice to, be back together with a team. Our team is like a mix of, kind of the usual players and then some new players as well. Same thing with our coaches. Like we have the same captain that we've had for many years, but we have Alejandro Ramirez going as the coach. And so there's like this mix of old and new. I think it's going to be interesting that way. And the country itself is, it's always been one of my favorite places to visit.
India, yeah, I've never been. Definitely want to go, but team tournaments are rare in chess, and I've heard that the most successful Olympiad teams are the ones, not always the ones who are highest rated, but often the ones who have the best team camaraderie and the best relationship between the players. You can confirm that is, that's important. I've only played in one team tournament, the 2015 World Team Championship, and I really could feel in that tournament that, being on good terms with the other players, an atmosphere of trust where the players don't blame each other for a bad result and support each other rather than compete amongst each other.
Yeah.
I would imagine that that's really important.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of team spirit that goes into these tournaments. And I think in general, the US team has always been quite good at that, that the team, we're not always rated, at the very top, but at least let's say for the US women's team, right, we've had some very good results over the years where we've beaten teams who are, much stronger than us, like Russia, or, we've drawn, I think, China. So those results are generally possible just because of the team spirit.
Right. Yeah, I remember having euphoria and like unbelievable disappointment back to back in that team championship I played. We had a match against Armenia, and I was on board 4, and the 3 boards drew. So you know where I'm going with this. I have one game left that decides the outcome of the match, and I lost it.
No.
I lost the draw on Endgame. And at that dinner, I mean, everyone's super supportive. They're like, it's not your fault, but we all know whose fault it is. I mean, literally, I was the only decisive game, and I lost.
That's the worst feeling, right, Danya?
The following match we played Russia, our team captain, John Donaldson, he put me in again, to his credit, and I was very determined. And I was, again, the last game remaining. Vara Janakobian lost next to me, and then the top 2 boards drew, so I needed to win to save the match, and I managed to beat my first Super GM in that game. So,
wow.
The disappointment was replaced by euphoria, but that the team element just raises all of the emotions because you really don't want to let your teammates down.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do we got here? We got Caruana versus Haravian, and White has an extra pawn. White has control of the C file. I guess the only thing Black has is like some hopes of capturing an F3, maybe winning the H4 pawn, which is a little bit weak. But that's that's hard to do because your knight's going to get hit. And after knight D2, are we just going to go queen? Yeah, queen E2.
We're completing each other's sentences. Yeah, we were thinking of the same line, I think. Queen trying to create some chances here. But this is really, really bad. Paravian had offered a draw earlier, but there's no way Alexei is taking it, especially after losing in the last round. He's mad, and he wants revenge. And with 4 out of 5, you kind of need to win if you want to be if you want to stay relevant. By the way, Sevian and Andrakin, I think people saw that, but they did agree to a quick and uneventful draw, as we had predicted.
Yeah, and Trigubov has a tough pairing in Wesley So, and he actually is under some pressure.
Let's take a look. Sorry, that's the wrong Wesley game. That was the Tari game.
Yeah.
There it is.
He's under some pressure here. I mean, his, the Black Knight is very good on C4. The E5 pawn is hanging. I guess Knight C7 is probably the move that needs to be played. I mean, you got to take something here as White.
Yeah, but the pawn structure here, and it seems like Trigubov, like he's got a very aggressive style. He's a 1E4 player, lifelong E4 player. And when he plays kind of in a timid fashion, trying to trade the pieces, it didn't work against Sevian, and it's not working against Wesley.
Yeah, so what happens after Knight C7? Like, which move is Black going to play? Is he going to take on E5? Is he going to take on E3?
Knight takes C7 here, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's... what else can he do? Like, his knight is there to take the pawn, right? Like, what else could it possibly be doing?
No, but I agree. The question is, wait a minute.
Are you getting the knight trapped? Did I find a way to get the knight trap with Rook D7? I think I did. I'm so good at that, Damn
girl, Rook C8.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, if you try Rook B1 and you're like, you can't take my knight because you get mated, you can. Knight F8, very important. Always remember that concept.
That's why he was thinking, right? Because he didn't want to get his knight trapped like I was trying to point him to do. He played Rook D1.
Yeah, but this doesn't promise all that much relief either, because Wesley, I think, is going to C6. Yeah, exactly. And then he's going to win the pawn eventually.
Yeah, not a lot of fun. The knight doesn't really have any good squares. Plus, like, there's this huge damage to the pawn structure looming after knight takes E3. So, knight B6, knight E3, and knight E5. White will just be down a pawn with a pretty bad position.
Yep. And Wesley just He's just a buzzsaw. Just a buzzsaw every game.
I'm trying to see what other interesting games we got going. Well, we can take a look at Schwiertz versus Fabiano.
Let's do it. And Fabiano has been scuffling this tournament, but he's not totally out of the conversation. He's got 3 out of 5. If he wins, if he wins the rest of his games, then he will have 7 out of 9 actually. But
yeah, this is interesting.
That's a weird thing to say, but it's no. Yeah. So he's totally still in the tournament, and he's got great compensation for the sacrificed exchange.
Yeah, he's in that second row of boards that I'm looking at, Danya. So he's still pretty high up there.
Yeah. It's just we have such high expectations for him. 3 out of 5 +1 in the RCC. Terrible.
Yeah, but he's got this big chance now. I mean, because it feels like, well, it does feel like it's practically easier to play. And by the way, I guess we should point out that Queen H6 fails to a pretty nice tactic here.
Ooh, that's a great point. It might appear the black-white can snag that pawn. You can't take the queen, but you can take the rook on g3. Very important idea. F takes g3, and now you can take the queen because the rook is unpinned.
Yeah, I've always liked that tactic since I was a child, that removing the pinning piece,
Very easy to miss, and we are being told in the chat that Bortnik crushed a GM in 20 moves, something we could take a look at maybe after our next break. But right now, Darius Schwiertz is under a lot of pressure with the rook coming down to b2. Can white keep the situation stable? Oh, there's a tactic. I don't like rook c2 though.
Why? What's the tactic? Is it just losing?
Well, I was going to propose queen e3.
I
was going to propose queen e3 with the idea of meeting queen takes h5 with the rook takes. Well, even better is queen d4 because this just forks the rook and the mate threat. But the move rook c2 by Darius, something seems off about it, and Fabi slides his rook up to b3, where it can't really be captured because you can't allow a pawn to get to b3.
Maybe just h5. I mean, that looks like a free pawn.
And Fabi is on the same page.
Yeah, because now black has 3 pawns for the exchange, and white's rooks are just not able to get any traction here.
And neither is white's queen, because if you go queen d4, you get checkmated on b1.
Yeah, I like Fabi. I like the bishop on c4, so nicely entrenched, just blocking the c file.
And Fabi, of course, with that very disappointing second half of the candidates, but rebounding almost immediately with a good couple of games in the Bundesliga. He defeated Hans Neiman in a nice game, and Richard Rapport also played the Bundesliga. So Fabi putting his unfortunate experience behind him and continuing his incredibly impressive career.
Yeah, I wonder, like, how does black make progress here? It's like you can't really push the d pawn. You have to push your pawns at some point if you want to win. So how is he going to do that?
Well, I mean, for now, black can just make incremental improvements to his position. Just kind of sip a pina colada on the beach, play king h8, queen f5, watch white's clock tick down. But Darius kind of loses his patience and takes on b3. I think he's eyeing the fact that this gives him a pass pawn, at least some source of counterplay. But that pawn's going absolutely nowhere because the black bishop is restraining the a6 square.
Yeah, I predicted that queen will come back to e5 some point soon. Okay, well, maybe I'll change that prediction because white just made sure it's not going to happen.
But there is the move pawn e5.
Pawn e5. Okay, you got to stop the checkmates, right? So that makes sense.
D4. I mean, the pawns are just, I think, completely overwhelming.
Yeah, or I mean, okay. So what is white threatening? White's threatening queen. Well, yeah.
I guess queen f6 is the only idea.
Yeah, queen b8 is not really a threat as long as like e5 is protected.
Queen f5, very much
sure
Fabiano's style.
What about queen h6 here?
Oh, I guess there's queen b1 check and queen h7. Does that force a queen trade?
It does. It does.
And I think it wins the game.
Yeah, I mean, he had other moves. I suppose he could have also played king h7 would have been an interesting move. But yeah, white wants to play a4, a5, a6. That's really the only idea for white.
Yeah, but now Darius is down to a minute, even less. Fabi still has half of his time remaining. What a convincing game.
Yeah.
And
So what does that
Dariush
move? What does that move do?
hoping that Fabi does not see the threat.
Mm,
Hopium.
okay, so I was wondering how he was going to offer that, like Queen E6 or Queen G6.
But this is,
okay.
I mean, yeah, there's no way that Dariush is holding this one together.
Yeah, I guess black just wants to go D4, D3, you know, actually just B2 actually after the queen trade.
By the way, Wesley did indeed defeat Pavel Trugubov as we anticipated. So big result there as Wesley moves to 5 points out of 6. And Fabi's pawns are moving closer and closer to promotion. I think Dariush might resign right here. He's going to try one more mate threat. Mate in 11, apparently.
So, you know, Caruana is another player that has an extra exchange. And he's pretty close to converting it.
Yeah, we'll flip. Let's like maybe look at 2 or 3 more moves in this game, because I think Dariush is going to resign like any second now. Queen D2. Oh, Queen D4.
Yeah, Queen D4 and promote the B pawn. Yeah.
There it is.
B2 is next.
Over.
Yeah.
B2. Okay, yeah, we can trust that Fabi will put the finishing touches on this one, and Bishop A2 is coming next. Okay, and Dariush is down to 3 seconds. It's over, and this is the Caruana game that you were talking about. Now this should be a win.
Yeah,
this should be a win for Alexei.
Sorry that I didn't find a more exciting.
Oh my God!
Game.
No, there is a crazy game. Jeffrey Xiong against Shamsuddin Vokita, both players with 3 points. Also in a must-win situation, in under 2 minutes. No, but I think Jeffrey is winning this one.
So Jeffrey has an extra couple of pawns. Yeah, his king is, you know, fairly safe, but he has to watch out for like Queen F1, Knight B4. Thankfully, he has Rook D1 on Queen F1. Right, so that's the key line. He just needs to keep his king on B1 safe, and then he'll be fine.
Yeah, and the king seems relatively safe. There's just plenty of squares. And in a weird way, the fact that the pawn is on B3 rather than C2 can actually help. So it beefs up the security along the B file. And it also creates, you know, these entry and exit points for the white king, eliminating the possibility of a back rank mate. Okay, it's over. Look at Jeffrey's minor pieces on the king side.
Yeah, I mean, there's no time for Knight B4, you know, when the Rook on F7 is under attack and basically has nowhere to go, right? I mean, Rook C7.
It's like the big bad wolf is going to come huffing and puffing.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Unfortunately, the king side is made of straw.
One interesting result from this round was that Muradli beat Abdusatorov.
Ooh, another impressive win for the Azerbaijani newly minted grandmaster.
96, yeah, okay.
God, damn, Muradli.
Yeah, he's doing very well. How old is he?
He is, I think, under 20, I want to say. He's around 19, maybe 19 or 20.
Yeah, we're getting like, you know, chess booms in a lot of countries. You know, I'll tell you one interesting thing, Danya. Like, you know, at the Women's Olympiad, we have a very high ranked team from Kazakhstan. Now, Kazakhstan was never like traditionally a very strong chess country, but like as the years have gone by, you know, they've gotten, you know, more players around 2,500, and now I think, you know, they're one of the teams that are in contention for the medals.
Yeah, they've got and by the way, really sick move by Jeffrey to end the game. Look at that back rank mate. Sleek by Jeffrey. But Zhensai Abdumalik, Dinara Sadbakasova, I mean, if you've got 2,500 plus players on your team, that's impressive.
Bibisara Asobayeva.
Oh, Bibisara as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's like the third player, right? So now it's like 3 players who are like around GM level, right?
That's and all of them are young with very promising chess careers.
Yeah.
And speaking of promising chess careers, Maxim Motlakov does defeat Amin Tabatabai to move to 4.5 out of 6.
So that was just losing. I was so confused by that because I thought, like,
I think that this might actually be a draw.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like very surprised. I was like, I thought they agreed to a draw, but that's not what happened.
The actual mistake was to play bishop c7. And the reason that was a mistake is because if you go anywhere else after g4, you can actually take and go king g7. But with a bishop on c7, this is impossible to see when you've got 30 seconds. You can't go back to g7 because you get skewered or pinned rather.
Yeah. Also, another point of bishop e7 is that they can't even play g4, right? Because you take on h4.
Oh yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, so he just put the bishop on the wrong square. By the way, Aaron, I always tell people, oh, 2 bishops against the knight. This is winning. But the question is, will he make it in 9 seconds? I think black will give a fork.
So Vidit, maybe it's pretty tricky.
And Gregorio Parin is so fast.
Like, who's better with a mouse? Who's better?
Parin has the easier task here because the knight is a much better piece in such time scrambles. Oh, look at the speed. I mean, this isn't even close. And finally, Vidit starts pre-moving, but he's not even close. By the way, Irina, I tell people that, oh, wait.
Oh, wow.
Nah, he's not going to make it. Oh, it's almost mate.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I confuse the concept of a skewer and the concept of a pin. And the reason I think that is because, obviously I learned chess terms in Russian at first. And there is no separate word, as far as I know, for skewer. It's this word for pin and skewer, I think, is the same.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what is the Russian word for skewer.
I don't think there is one. So maybe that's why it happens. So anyways, I think that concludes round 6. And that means it is time for our second slightly longer break. If you look at the oh, I apologize. One more round. The break is after round 7. So don't breathe just yet. Don't release your seatbelts. Big round coming up. So Irina, 3 players on 5 out of 6. They're going to be playing each other. And then a big group, 4.5 and 4. Anything can still happen.
So let's see who are players in 5 out of 6. We got Sam Sevion, we got Andreykin, and Wesley So. Now, Andreykin, has he played Wesley So already?
No, so Andreykin and Wesley are playing, and then Samuel Sevian is dropping down to play the highest rated player with 4.5, and that is, of course, Alexei Sarana. My guess is that, how much do you want to bet that Andreykin and So is going to be a quick draw?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bet a lot, Danya, because I'd like to keep my money. The thing is, I watched Wesley also draw it quickly against Sam in the last round. So, I mean, I am seeing a little pattern emerge here. Let's bet that Paravian Caruana is not going to be a quick draw.
No. Yeah. Yes. Fabiano is going to play for a win.
Yep. Then he's chosen the Sicilian to do it.
Oh!
Yeah. Well, I think you should have asked me how many moves do I think is going to be.
That's true. That would have been, yeah. But there was no doubt in my mind because Wesley with black, and Drake, and they look at each other. All right, let's call it a day. They both now have 5.5 out of 7. So even if they lose their last 2 games, they'll have a chance to qualify, but they won't. And the decision makes perfect sense from the perspective of qualifying to the Sunday knockout. We remind you, if you're new to the RCC, this is the Saturday Swiss. The top 8 finishers today qualified to the Sunday knockout tomorrow. Grand Prix points are accumulated throughout the 25-week season. And so on Saturdays, the most important thing is to make that top 8 and to do whatever it takes.
Yeah. Hey, Danya, I just found a way to improve the tournament. I just thought of it right now. It's very simple. You just got to go with like the no draw rules, right? Like St. Louis does. I mean, why not? Why can't you have that here? Like no draw offers before move 40.
So I played a tournament in Corsica, which is famous for this. Whoa, as we have Alexei Sarana sacrificing a knight on f7. And maybe this is still theory?
Wow. Yeah, let's maybe take a little look at what's going on there. So the black king on g6 can also possibly get to h6 right after f5, king h6. Bishop g3 seems natural. And
then bishop f4, knight e5. They're blitzing out like a ridiculous.
Wow.
What the slow down.
Is this like some kind of an equal?
I'm sure it has to be. And the eval bar showing zeros.
I mean, is that like just a fancier way to make a draw than Wesley?
Yeah, but is this just? I mean, this does not ring a bell to me. They're probably
what
following
line is
some.
this? Yeah, what
It's
was
a Nimzo Indian, a popular variation, but maybe they're following some sort of like MVL Hikaru game from 7 years ago. Who knows? But clearly, Sam is aware of this. His opening preparation has always been ridiculously stellar.
Yeah.
I mean, the last round of the US Championship last year, I was playing Sevian and I was looking at his opening preparation. I was like, the guy is outplaying, 2750. So I decided to make a quick draw on the Italian just because I was like, this is crazy. Now, Alexei offers a draw.
Whoa.
And Sam Sevian is likely to, I mean, if he trusts that Alexei knows this line as well, then he will take it.
Okay, yeah, I don't understand anything that's going on. So obviously the move to play would be bishop takes c8, right? Or wait, or is there?
Yes, bishop takes c8, bishop takes g5 check. Now, if you take with the king, you get mated, so you have to take with the queen. Now, you might say, wait a second, isn't the rook hanging? It is, but then the pawn on e3 is hanging. King h1 is forced, because rook f2 walks into knight d3. And then black plays queen takes e2, rook has to move. And then you get some sort of a draw like this where the queen perpetually pursues the rook. Because if you tuck your rook into the corner, then you allow the move knight g4 and there's a mate threat on f2. So due to that very simple, obvious line, it is a draw. Oh, right. And one more thing.
Yeah, except it wasn't that obvious. And so I kind of feel like Sevian, I mean, he's not the one risking that much in that line, right? Like White still, I mean, I guess White's moves are Foreest too, right? Yeah, White's moves are Foreest.
And there's one critical detail. You might say, okay, wait, I see an idea. Knight g4 and Sevian declines the draw, but they're going down this line. In this position, if black plays queen e3 to set up a smothered mate, White has the very important resource queen c1, which actually wins the game because it forces the queen trade.
And looks like Sam did not go for the draw.
They're following the game. Thank you, Pass in the chat, for the research. They're following Vincent Keimer, the German phenom, against Jonas Bjerre, a Danish grandmaster from the recent European Team Championship.
Huh. Okay.
And Stevis tells us that Bjerre won that game. It's actually weirdly starting to ring a bell.
Yeah, I definitely missed that game. But okay, the players have spent a couple of minutes to get here, so they're definitely thinking rook c1.
Okay, knight d3. He continues to blitz out the moves. Rook c6 check is, I think, quite obviously Alexei's idea. King g5, and then maybe just calmly create some lufts with h3.
King g5 and h3. That's such a crazy position.
Already the engine is actually suggesting that black can play for a win here. Rook c1 was apparently not the most accurate.
But certainly very human-like.
Yes, rook c6 check looks so strong. But if we pull up the analysis board here, after rook c6, king g5.
Right, there's no g6 because of rook g6. Yeah, let's point out that one tactic I saw, Danya.
So go ahead. Oh, rook
you
g6?
Can't go you can't go g6 for black. You can't go
because
g6.
of rook takes g6. Yep. And this is mate. But here's the thing. After king g5, h3, black has in his pocket a perpetual check, queen f1 check and queen f4 check. But you could also play bishop takes f5. And this is not I mean, you might have to change your pants here, but, somehow black's king is okay. Black's king is okay.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, I mean,
I don't think he'll go for it, though. I think that'll be a draw if white plays rook c6.
Well, but how is it going to be a draw? Like after king g5, h3. Oh, you think he's just going to make the perpetual?
I think Sam is testing his opponent, but I think if he finds rook c6, because there are no other moves. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
He's not risking that much after bishop f5, is he? Like,
nope.
Let's look at that again.
Apparently not. Okay, if we go back to that, let's go back to that position. So h3, queen f1, king h2, bishop f5.
Right. Okay.
Queen e7 check. Oh my God, you have to go king f4 and king e3.
Oh yeah, it seems really, really safe.
Oh my God, and already here black is
going to d2, yeah?
Yeah, and it's totally safe.
So beautiful.
Queen g5, you can play e3 or even queen f4. Amazing line. Look at that king journey.
I don't know. I think this is not going to be a repetition. I'm willing to make a bet with you here, Danya, that Sevian's going to play for a win.
All right.
I think it's a slightly more interesting bet than that one about how Wesley's game is going to finish.
Apparently, Alexei made the same mistake as Keimer, and Rook C1 is it's a step in the wrong direction. I think if he goes Rook C6 and H3, apparently he's still fine, but it will be really, really hard to find the best moves.
So here's the thing. I mean, it's really simple playing against Sevian. You just have to know at least 27 moves of theory.
Oh my God. But to out-prepare Alexei, this is the losing move. And the reason is because of Knight E1. It's over.
Oh, wow. Double threat of mates, yeah?
And after Queen E6, G6, there are no more checks. After Rook C6, you go King H5. There's one check. You go G6. The game is over. That's it. There are no more checks. I mean, G4, Queen takes G4 is totally meaningless. Sevian wins the game if he plays Knight E1 right out of the opening.
Wow. That is really impressive.
Unbelievable. And Sevian with plenty of time here.
Yeah, I mean, because 91 is definitely, I mean, it's not really that hard of a move to know.
No, not at all. It's actually very easy because you create two different mate threats. So he sees it. I think he's just making sure that he escapes the checks, but it's a really, really, compared to what he's just uncorked, I mean, be that
it feels kind of trivial
or not, be that as it may, this feels trivial, yeah. No, it really is. 91 is child's play for Sevian. He'll play it.
So let's just understand what happens after Rook C6.
Rook C6, King H5.
And the only other check is Queen E8.
Yeah, what makes this line easy is the fact that there is no uncertainty. It literally is, bang, 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 checkmate.
Yep.
Okay, White can stave off checkmate technically by playing Rook takes G6, but after HG, this actually, if White's pawn had been on H4, this would be mate. But as it stands, Black's king has the perfectly saved G5 square, and Black wins the game.
And do you know that Paravian seems to be doing very well against Fabiano Caruana?
Ooh. So wait, how did Fabi do in the previous game against Malakov?
Yeah, he won. He won against...
Fabi won that?
Yeah, he was winning. Remember, that was the one that he was totally...
No, but I'm talking about the game before Schwiertz. How did he do against Malakov in that game?
Oh, you're right. There was one losing position that he had, right? He must have...
Oh, he drew that.
He
managed to draw that game. Oh, and Sevian does not go 91, but...
Oh, no.
But he goes for a different winning line.
Okay.
It's the same exact principle. I mean, you're threatening smothered mate, and it's going to be the same bottom line, which is that Rook C6, King H5 escapes the checks. No, this is
you're also threatening Knight D1 with a back rank mate.
Ooh. God damn. What a game. And if King F1, you go Knight G4, and there's like that. Goodbye, resign. Sign the score sheets.
Yeah, that's incredible to like win a game like that. Just like, based mostly on your preparation, right? It's a pretty cool feeling.
And we want to thank Grandmaster Artur's Nakesons rating us with a party of 51, commentating the Beal tournament. Was really, really enjoying Artur's commentary. We had Vishy in the studio, so thank you. Welcome everybody to the Rapid Chess Championship. This is round 7 of 9. We hope you've been enjoying the coverage, and we hope you've been enjoying this unbelievable preparation displayed by Samuel Sevian, who's on his way to repeating his record performance. The only one who's reached 7.5 out of 9, and he's done it twice in the RCC.
Yeah, so I guess, on both of the checks that White has here, Black is just responding G6, right? Whether it's Queen E6 or Rook C6, it's always...
No, I don't think so.
Rook C6, you can't go G6 because there's, Queen F...
Wait, no, you can. Sure. You actually can. Queen F8, King H5 also works. Also works.
And there's no, like, Rook sack. Yeah, the Rook sack doesn't really...
There's only a backpack. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're saying Rook C6 because he can go King H5 and then G6, right? Mm-hmm.
I made the most intellectual pun of all time just now.
I didn't hear it, Daniel.
You said rucksack, and I said he only has a backpack.
Oh, that's a good one. See, you said it so fast that I just didn't catch it. That was really good. That was really good.
No, you didn't miss much.
Okay, what do we also have? We got Esipenko seemingly doing really well against Jeffrey Xiong. Trigubov actually you know, who knows? He might be better against Maksudlu.
Yeah, Jeffrey's about to lose a very, very important game here, unless he can use his big time advantage to his benefit here. But look at Andre's minor pieces. The rook on f8 is trapped. I mean, white's not even in a hurry to capture it. That's why he didn't capture it. He's trying to improve his knight first. Queen coming out to g4.
Yeah. No, that's painful. That is the position gone wrong.
Okay, so this is going to be most probably a win. So we have Dmitry Andreikin and Wesley on 5.5 out of 7. We've got Sevian, who will be in pure first on 6 out of 7.
You know, I did find an interesting position here. Is the game Robson versus Grishuk. They're a little bit further down, but I mean,
okay.
Still in contention, you know?
Can people in the chat forgive us for wanting to look at Grishuk Robson?
Yeah, I think they can, right?
I think they'll be fine with it. Especially since we know Sevian's going to win, so we know what's going on the top boards.
Yeah.
Okay, so black is up a queen for a rook and a piece.
Yeah, so white has 5 pawns, black has 6. Black actually has more pawns, but white has a great bishop, on g6.
So right now the rook is hanging. I assume it has to move.
Rook d1?
Where should he move it? But rook d1, I mean, queen takes b3 and black just starts slicing up the entire queen side here.
So what can we do?
Rook c1, very nice move, to which Grishuk immediately responds by counterattacking black's white's dark-squared bishop. Really quickly, the point was that if black takes on b3, then white has the move rook e3, pinning and winning the bishop on c3.
So after queen f8, I mean, I assume you don't really want to take on c3 and let the queen come in, but where can your bishop really go? Is it just like, I mean, because on bishop c7, there's queen f6. So, I mean, the black queen is looking pretty good.
I actually would consider seriously taking on c3 because you could follow up by taking on e6, and I don't think black has any forks. But there is the nasty prospect of black doubling on the f file and putting pressure on the f2 pawn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I see the eval bar is giving this as a round equal, but I definitely don't feel like white's move here is very obvious to me.
I agree. And Ray drops lower on the clock than Grishuk now with both sides under 3 minutes. Queen takes f4, rook takes c6 is on the board. Rook f8, I think, is very likely here.
And then he has some trouble defending this f2 pawn, right? Like, how is he going to be doing that? Like, rook c2?
Well, rook e2 is possible. The good news for white is that queen g5 check can be met with rook g3.
That's helpful.
Goes rook c2.
It goes rook c2. I guess he wants to go rook c2 to e2 and just trying to hold on. But yeah, I mean, okay, that's basically what it is. Like, white is, well, actually, if white goes rook c to e2 and somehow makes the king safe and is able to play rook e8, I mean, I guess there is a sort of some kind of concept there for white. But it's still hard to see, let's say, white winning this position. It feels like it's definitely more black.
Queen f3. Just nasty position for white, just because of the amount of different forks and checks that you have to keep in mind.
Yeah, now b3 and h3 are hanging. So how does he defend both of those things? Or, I mean, losing. Yeah, rook e3, it's a good move. Rook e3, good move.
Queen d1 check, though. Ugh.
No, queen d1, you just go king g2 because your bishop's protecting the other rook.
Oh, and I keep forgetting that, if you move the rook from f8, white has the check on e8.
Yeah, so rook e3 is a good move.
And he plays it, but not before a long think.
And yeah, holds everything together. There you go. Okay, that's at least kind of safe looking for white. But he's given up the play on the e file, right? So now there's no rook d2 because of the fork on e1.
I feel like Grishuk might actually be flagging Ray here.
Yeah, there's no rook c3 because of queen e1.
Queen e1! Queen e1!
Queen e1, why is that?
Queen e4 fork?
Oh, wow.
It's over. And you're about to see on camera Ray leans back in his chair. Damn it. He came close to holding that one.
Ray's such a nice guy.
I know.
Yeah, you can't really root against Ray, but on the other hand, Grishuk has all those cool videos on YouTube, right? The gangster ones.
Oh yeah, Grishuk Thug Life compilation.
Thug Life.
love
I mean,
those.
yeah, I love that. Those were always the best, right? You could just like watch those over and over.
Yeah, I love the one where he brings like a bottle of water, but there's like a green liquid in it, and they're like, "What is in that bottle?" He's like, "Well, what is in the bottle? None of your business, but okay. I play chess and yes." Grishuk is hilarious. Love Grishuk.
Yeah, yeah.
It was fun to I got to commentate with him for the World
when?
Championship, actually. Well, we did the Russian commentary
Oh,
for the World
wow.
Championship.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was an amazing opportunity, and he was so, I mean, obviously when he speaks his native language, he's even more expressive, and he's just, I have the highest opinion of him.
Wow. It's interesting, Danya. I mean, so I had no idea that you mean during the World Championship match, Nepo Carlson.
Yeah,
this was going on chess.com. Well, I feel like they should let more people know.
Yeah, well, I didn't do all of the rounds. I did maybe like 7 or 8 of the rounds, but
yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
And that was the main Russian commentator, Grishuk, or someone was also replacing him sometimes.
Wait, say that again.
Was Grishuk the main Russian language commentator, or were there also other?
No, I think he was. I think Sasha Kosteniuk was doing it a couple rounds. So it was a great crew.
Yeah, yeah. That's so interesting. The behind the scenes, like in all these other languages, chess.com is like bringing these great commentators.
Totally.
And what do we see here? I mean, I guess we see black up a knight. Oh yeah, so
I don't know why Alexei's playing this out. I think he's gonna lose. And Samuel Sevian jumps into clear first with a huge game. And
look at this. Do you know that Caruana is no longer losing? Caruana is just totally drawing.
Wait, whoa.
Maybe he's already.
Whoa. What is happening here? We're gonna have simultaneous promotion, and it's just a draw. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was not doing very well.
Fabi's going for the win.
Wait,
but he's going to lose. What is he doing?
What is he doing?
He wants to flag him, but he's going to get checkmated. Yeah, Fabi is black, right? Okay, so Fabi's black, so he's not doing so well now. But can he hold this position, King B7? He's got to make sure to trade the queens, otherwise he's going to get mated. Oh!
He's getting mated. Oh, man. Oh, he seems so upset. Look at him.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. I would be upset, too, if I did that. Fabi, I feel for you.
And he had to take the queen and promote, and that's a huge game.
Oh, that was so unnecessary.
And he thought, okay, David has 13 seconds, but what was he thinking? Because if David wanted to draw, like all he has to do there is, is just take black's rook. So he has no winning chances. A big, big loss for Fabi. And I think that concludes the games from round 7. And now it is time to take our final break. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 rounds remaining. Samuel Sevian in clear first with 6 out of 7. 2 more fascinating rounds left. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase, and we will be back with the finale on the other side of this short break.
The Rapid Chess Championship is brought to you by Coinbase. Whether you're looking to make your first crypto purchase or you're an experienced trader, Coinbase has you covered. You can earn crypto by learning about crypto at Coinbase.com. Explore DeFi and Web3 with your Coinbase wallet. Get exclusive rewards when you spend with your Coinbase card and much, much more. Learn more at Coinbase.com/chess and get $10 in Bitcoin when you sign up and verify your account. Check them out. Use the command sponsor or command Coinbase today and go to Coinbase.com to get that Bitcoin, baby.
Okay, welcome back to the Rapid Chess Championship. It is Saturday Swiss here alongside Grandmaster Irina Krush, and we already have 2 results within 5 seconds of the round starting. Irina, Samuel Sevian and Billy Kimba, that's Mencia Matlikov, drawing their game, Andreykin and Wesley So drawing theirs.
Yeah, I mean, well, if the games are over so fast, we know there can only be one result. I mean, Sam brought us a lot of excitement in the last round. He actually catapulted himself into the lead with 6.5 points out of 8. And interestingly, he's been, Matlikov found himself in clear second place at 6 points. And, you know, his tournament, I mean, he's been kind of under the radar. We've barely looked at his games, and somehow he managed to get ahead of players like Andreykin and Wesley So and Caruana, who we've been watching much more. But there he is. He was in second place. So I can understand these 2 players deciding to call it a day. And what was the second game that you said was over already?
Well, I'm not sure who played who. Actually, let me check. So Samuel Sevian, Wesley So, Matlikov, Andreykin, and Yasipenko have all already finished their games.
Yeah, So played Yasipenko. That was a draw. And yeah, Sevian, Matlikov. So we do have slightly more interesting game in Maksudlu Andreykin.
Andreykin's still playing. I apologize.
Yeah, he's still...
His name, his chess.com account name is so long that it just like takes up the entire screen. I wasn't sure if he was still playing.
Yeah, he is still playing, and Caruana got like really kicked back with that loss. I mean, I don't even know where he is at this point.
Yeah, total heartbreaker there with Maksudlu Andreykin, as you said, in a Queen's Gambit Carlsbad structure. And the people that we want to watch, you know, in the last 2 rounds are the ones who are on the fence. If you look at the standings on the right-hand side, you see Mishanek, that's Serrano, he's in 8th place. People like Tabatabai, Bortnik, the people who have 4.5 out of 7, if they win both of their games, then there's no question that they qualify.
And there's no more chance for Caruana to qualify, is there?
If he's on 4, there is if he wins both of his games and has really, really good tie breaks, but it's very slim.
All right, but he's not, we can't really see him because we're just seeing the top 14, right? So actually, you know what? I can find him. We can see Caruana has 4. Yeah, there you go. He does have a chance.
He's playing Vukidov. It's weird to say that he has a chance because you look at the standings, you're like, Fabi's in 16th place or something, but there's so few players to begin with that the field thins out where you win 1 game and you're in a completely different stratosphere.
Yeah, that's right. And there's, you know, and the players are also like making some draws, so they're not really climbing up in the standings. All right, so let's take a look. Maksudlu versus Andreykin. We get a pretty typical position. I guess we could call it Queen's Gambit, or maybe it feels like it might have been like a Rogozin system. Of course, I prefer positions like this for white. I mean, the knight on d4 is really well established. And yeah, I mean, it's quite passive for black, actually, a passive version of this type of position. Usually you like to see, I'm sorry, Don, you usually like to see the knight on e4, you know, in these positions.
Yep. Rook on c8. Yeah, I mean, white has the blockade over the isolated queen pawn. Yeah, I mean, I think white is probably slightly better. This is the kind of position I think Andreykin would love to have with white.
Yeah. And in terms of a plan, I mean, I guess the black pawn will probably be forced to go to b6 unless black wants to put the bishop on c6, but I don't really see that happening because of white, and then white will play a6, right? So I do think b6, yeah.
And it happens, and knight slides back to b3. Very interesting move. Now, normally you would say, well, the knight on d4 is really, really good, but here he's got a more specific idea. What if black drops the bishop back to d6? Does white want to trade dark squared bishops, or is there something more tactical that he's...
I actually think that's probably what he's going for, right? He just wants
trade
to
and then back to d4.
Back. Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening. He's traded and he's brought the knight back to d4. And a very instructive idea, and I think a lot of people, they don't like to move a piece back and forth at all. But notice that here, it's almost like you're paying a price, right? You're investing 2 tempi, but in return, you're getting one of black's strongest pieces off the board.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, I don't know why he didn't like his dark squared bishop so much. It didn't seem completely terrible on that diagonal. But yeah, I mean, white has a lot of pawns on the dark square, so it made some sense that he didn't want to keep his bishop. And I suppose right now he was thinking about some move like queen b4. But black captured on a5, knight b3.
I love that decision by Andrakin because he's going to have a passed pawn, and that's going to be a serious asset for the rest of the game. Now, it could also turn into a weakness. I think this game is going to end in a draw. I feel like there's going to be some sort of liquidation, or they're going to find a way to trade the c pawn for the a pawn.
Yeah, I feel like, white has definitely lost the pressure. And I don't know about, that knight b3 maneuver trading the dark squared bishops may be something that white would need to reconsider, because I just don't see the initiative here for white. Like the c3 pawn is weak, and now
I agree. I think this is black's over the hump now.
Exactly. But we do have an interesting position in Paravian Tabatabe.
Paravian Tabatabe. Let me click on that game.
Yeah, that is 2 rooks and a knight here. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Whoa. So Paravian had tried this on for size. Paravian offered a draw in the opening. Tabatabe declined it. Now Paravian's just completely winning. He's up. What? How did this happen? So we had this Caro-Kann. Oh, and rook d3 lifting the rook up. It still looks like a competitive position. Oh, so he gets the knight around to f3 and then g5. Ooh.
That's a good square for the knight.
Oh, and then c4 opening up the queen side, and things start getting really nasty for black. Ooh.
Yeah.
Bang, bang.
So now he's going to be up at least a pawn, right? Just up a pawn.
And look at the total piece domination. I mean, the knight, the rook aiming at f7, and black's king is weak. This is just +5.
Yeah, rook a2. I mean, rook c1, rook c7. It is, it's pretty dominating.
It was basically game over. And
wow.
I mean, declining the draw with the black pieces, which is understandable because, he wants to hit that 6.5 point mark, but now he's totally out of contention. And David Paravian will have 6 points.
Yeah, it's going to be a big win for him. I also think we have an interesting, well, let's see, in terms, because our top boards, some of them have already ended. So actually all of our top boards have ended. So Maksudlu and Draken is over as well. So we're basically on to the next part. And in that case, let's take a look at the game between Eric Hansen and Bortnick.
Okay. 2 players who we always love watching. And Eric is winning? No, probably losing. I mean, look at his pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I did notice that black's knights look really beautiful in this position.
And I think F4 looks really, really strong here.
Yeah, because you want to open up the bishop on B7, yeah?
Alexander Bortnick is such a monster. I mean, the way he just crushes people sometimes. And he apparently won his previous game in like 20 moves. Knight takes F4 is coming.
Mm-hmm. Pawn takes E3, and then you can even maybe throw in queen takes F4.
Goodbye. GG rip.
Yeah.
This is over.
Okay, wait. Okay, I got another good one. Well, before it ends, let's go to Caruana versus Bohidov, because Fabi has put his rook under some attack on G6, which looks really unusual.
Whoa. Beautiful position here. And the point is that H takes G6 gets checkmated. Great catch, Arena. This is what seems to be Fabi can convert this. A lovely game.
Ganya, when he put that rook there, how did that rook get there? Just go back a couple of moves.
So it was on G4, and then he just put it on G6, and then he played H6, which is the impressive part. Because this is understandable. Like white takes, but to play H6 after, and then rook H4, paving the way for the queen to get to H1. And can he put the finishing touches on this game? Bohidov has put together a pretty impressive defensive setup here with both of his rooks on the 7th rank.
I guess he's just threatening queen H1, pawn G7, and rook H7, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Or you could move the king back to H2 and clear the G3 square for the queen. You could also set it up like that.
That's nice. I have to say this must be like an angry Fabi, right?
Oh, yeah.
It feels like he's not in the mood to mess around in this game, and he set up a really beautiful position.
And he's just on a mission here. Bishop back to C1. He doesn't even give black the chance to take his bishop out of the equation. And now he takes on H6, and he's been playing quick. Whoa, rook G7 check. Oh, I guess takes and rook G4. Apparently that was a mistake. I think bishop h6 was a lot more convincing, no?
Because after pawn takes bishop g7 and checkmate.
Yeah, Fabi, just this tournament, I mean, he just hasn't been crisp. And this should still be
He's still winning,
handily
right?
winning.
But,
Yeah, handily FG.
Yeah, FG, because he can't take with the king because of queen g2.
No, this is winning. This is winning for sure. The plan is still to drop the king back and then play queen h4, and it's only a matter of time before the king is moribund here.
All right, I got a good game for you, Danya. It is Grishuk versus Xiong. They're playing sort of on the board next to Caruana Vohidov.
Right. And another impressive looking position for Grishuk. So Grishuk is a half a point ahead of Jeffrey. Sasha kind of needs to try. I mean, at the very least, he needs a point and a half to be in contention. I always want to see Grishuk qualify. Jeffrey, of course, as well.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it feels like white is better. Yeah, black's king is kind of more open. White's position in general more solid. And they are still up a pawn. Like black hasn't even had a chance to capture it back yet. And even in the worst case, if black does capture it back, like after knight d4, white's still just better in those kinds of positions. So, yeah, I mean, it does look like Grishuk has a pretty big edge here.
Can he find a way to keep the c5 pawn alive? I don't think so. But as you said, the control over the d4 square, the fact that black's king is quite weak overall, but it's still very much a game. And what bothers white is the c3 square. That's a pretty serious weakness. So if you move the knight away from e2, you have to reckon with the possibility of getting forked.
Yeah, knight d4 here. I was going to say bishop d6 in this position. But,
yeah, but this is very committal. This opens up the light squared bishop.
Yeah, why didn't he just protect that pawn, Danya? Like, well, he could have, yeah, bishop d6, I think.
Yeah, bishop d6 was also my inclination. Now I feel like Jeffrey's doing okay.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I was like, he switched the pawn structure, lost the bishop pair, gave back the pawn, and he still can't even take the bishop on e6. So this is like a very strange stuff from Grishuk.
Yeah, now he's starting to think, ooh, and bishop takes d4.
Yeah, and black is just fine.
The advantage has evaporated completely. And if Jeffrey can find a way to win this game, and then he wins the next one, the plot will thicken because 6 out of 9, once again, it generally gets you in the tournament, in the top 8, into the Sunday knockout.
Yeah, but I mean, that's so disappointing, actually. In just such a short time, he didn't really make any problems for Jeffrey from that position at all.
Right. It's one of the hardest things to adjust to when you're like much better than you make 2 or 3 mistakes in a row. And then you look up and you're like, how could my advantage have disappeared like that? And yet it happens.
So Paravian has won, Bortnik has won, Fabi has won, and okay, we got this game, which is likely to be a draw. I suppose we could take a look at Muradli versus Sarana. I mean, it's not the most exciting one, but white is up a pawn there, and I guess...
Yeah, and we only have a couple of games still remaining, actually, so...
yeah, beggars can't be choosers, yeah.
No, I think Muradli's actually winning, or at least close to being winning. Wow, Alexei Sarana is really struggling here after such an impressive start. Queen c4.
So bishop back to c5?
So there's 2 problems that black faces. The first is that the queen and the rook are kind of stuck in mud, especially the rook. The second, I think, is the possibility of white getting 2 pieces on the 8th rank.
Can I tell you a third one? That bishop d7 is about to trap their rook.
Oh my god. Oh my lands. That is true. That is so true.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Why is it only +2?
Yeah, well, you know, what's funny is queen c4 actually protects the d5 pawn because you didn't have bishop d7 before, and now I think you do. Oh, queen to b2, yeah, some threats.
Bang, bang. And if rook e2?
Rook f6. Oh, no, there's no rook f6.
There's a move here because it says equal.
Okay, that's cool.
Let's see if we can find it without. Queen b1.
Queen b1, and what? Just
look at this construction. Wow. Queen on f1 and bishop on g1. You don't see that every day. And the queen on c4 is going to be lost.
Oh, it's just a pin. Wow.
Wowza. And rook e2 by Mohammad Muradli. He recognizes the danger, and queen back to d6, and Sarana manages to extricate his rook.
Yeah, so it's still a real battle.
And with the time situation here, it's basically a 3-result game. I mean, white could overpress here.
I agree because, white's king is not the safest king in the world. Okay, so Rana offering a trade of the queens, which obviously, it would change it from a 3-result game to a 2-result game, I think. Can white really avoid it? White can't really avoid it, right? Because on queen e2, there's always queen f2. But then you might prefer to trade there because there's d6, right? So
at that point, if white can go d6, white wins. But Muradli decides to trade queens. I think that's a prudent decision given his time situation. And king f3, king e4, he can torture black forever here. Another problem that he faces is that his pawns are all in dark squares. So if you go king e4 and you're not careful, I mean, you could give up a bunch of those pawns to bishop f2.
So let me ask you something, Danya. In this kind of position, do you just start playing for a draw as white, like thinking it's not really just feasible for you to win with a time situation?
Yeah. I mean, I think you should try to play quickly. You should try to make like 20 or 30 moves and shrink black's time advantage. But yeah, black is 40 seconds.
What if you don't? And then you're the one who has 30 seconds left and your position hasn't really improved much.
Yeah, you should go. Yeah. White should take a draw here. White should definitely take a draw here. White's just too low on time to
That's what I would do. Because, I would just look at it that way, that it's no longer really about, the extra pawn. You just have to, that like you get a little lower on time and then Serrano will just flag you, right?
Yes, Serrano will definitely flag you. He will not think twice. But Muradli's still trying. He plays f5. And Serrano says, thank you for the pawn. I'm going to take it.
Yeah, what was the point of that? King f4?
Yeah, but rook g6, no? Oh, king f6 and bishop e5. Muradli's trying to lose this game.
Yeah, bishop e5, king f3, king
g6. Close. This is getting a little scary for white. 44 seconds on the clock.
Maybe he wants to go f4 and rook f6 at some point if he's given a chance.
Oh, and he wants to get the rook to g5.
King h6, rook g5.
Rook g6, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
But Alexi's playing for a win at this point.
How is he going to activate that rook on d6?
Yeah, that's $1 million. And how is he going to save the pawn on b6? Because if white captures that pawn, then you can create another passer on the queen side potentially.
Okay, so he's planning like rook g6, right? Rook g6, or maybe rook f6 and f4. There you go.
And the reason, and he gives up another. But the reason he put his bishop on d2 is to prevent b4. But now he's got to deal with another weakness. And I'm not sure the rook trade isn't winning for white. I think it might be. Or is it? I don't know.
Yeah, so what happens on f4, rook h5? I guess.
Well, that's check.
King d6, and then maybe white even plays g4, right?
Yeah, and your rook again is arrested, and he has to go king d4. And now the time situation has equalized, and maybe even an exchange sack followed by king f4 should be considered. But he doesn't do it.
f4. Okay, now
rook f5. Rook f5.
Oh, nice.
Oh, and he takes f7. He should be able to win this now.
Kind of outplaying him now, yeah.
Incredible stuff by Muradli this tournament, and this is a must-win game. And he's going to move to 5.5 if he can finish this one off. King f5. Let's watch. This is going to be a close one.
Okay, yeah. He's trapping him into that trade. Okay, well, the pawn on d7, yes, that is a powerful pawn.
This is easy. As long as he doesn't blunder his rook. King g4 pre-move. Bishop b5, rook c6, and it's over.
Yeah, put the bishop there automatically. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, he was upset. Sorana, he was upset at losing that bishop. It's funny that what's funny is that he showed so much emotion on that, even though he's losing anyway.
Yeah, right? It's not like if he doesn't lose his bishop, then it's a draw. I think he's just upset at the way that the game has gone. Okay, but wait a second. There's always that small... and he made a knight. Careful. Okay, and he wins.
Yeah.
112 moves.
Wow. Yeah, Sorana so upset about that game. Wow. I mean, I mean, to me, that emotion means that he thought he could still flag his opponent. I think that's the only reason to have such strong emotion, that he didn't he knew that he knew the position was losing, but he must have thought he had some chances if he wouldn't have lost the bishop.
And I think just generally the fact that he had that good start, and the fact that he thought he could flag white, he had chances in the end game, all of that frustration, it builds together, and it and it all sort of comes to a head once you realize that you have no more chances.
Yeah, that's disappointing. Yeah, going into the last round, I guess that cost him a lot. And by the way, Grishuk wound up beating Jeffrey Xiong. In that position, he eventually got to winning.
So he did end up winning the game. Incredible.
Yes, so that means that keeps his chances alive. And if we look at the results, well, we don't really have the updated. Oh, we do. Yeah, we have Sam Sevion on 6.5 out of 8.
Gee, I wonder how this game is going to end.
Yeah, and then we have, so he's going to get to 7, but he's probably not going to get to. I mean, do you think he should try to make a record?
I think the operative question is whether David Paravian, first of all, whether Sevian is going to even make a move, but whether Paravian is satisfied with the draw, and I think that he definitely is. I mean, 6.5 is guaranteed qualification. So I don't see a reason for David to put that in jeopardy by doing anything drastic. And finally, Sam Sevian plays E4. I think a Berlin is not unlikely. Okay, another Petrov. And Sam might repeat the line that he played against, just a draw straight away, not wasting any time.
Because there's a pretty nice prize for first place, right, in the Saturday Swiss, Danya?
I don't think there's any individual Saturday prizes. I think all of the prizes, there's a minimum Sunday prize.
I got it. So basically, it doesn't really matter to Sevion what place he finishes in, or does it matter for some sort of pairing tomorrow?
By the way, Andreikin and Matlikov, it appears, have made a very quick draw as well. So Matlikov punches his ticket, but the place matters as far as the colors are concerned. So if you get first place, then you're guaranteed to have white in all of the games. In some.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that is definitely an advantage. I would agree with that. Okay,
Right,
but Sam made a draw, so I guess he is guaranteed that first place. We do have Jacobian versus Ray. I think a lot of games have disappeared because they must be just draws. That must be it, right?
Yeah, a lot of the games ended in draws. Now, what's interesting is in the Bordnik Grishuk game, Bordnik offered a draw, probably thinking that his tie breaks are really good. Grishuk declined it. So no doubt that he's playing for a win with the black pieces. This was an exchange French, and I think Grishuk is preparing to castle queenside and unbalance the position.
Wow. Interesting decision there by Grishuk. And I mean, so who is in the contention to qualify? I mean, we have 8 players, and there's
already five spots are already taken.
Right.
And what's crazy is that because of the amount of people at the top of this tournament, you could have a situation where 6 out of 9 doesn't even qualify, which is rare. Usually it's 5.5 out of 9 that even has sometimes qualified. But you could get a situation where there's enough people who have 6.5 to where nobody with 6 actually qualifies.
So Parhamov, Maksudlu, he's in. Yeah, that's why. So he must have drawn his game.
No, but not necessarily, right? He's in as of right now. But if Bordnik wins his game,
but he's on 6. Oh, you're saying 6 out of 9 might not even qualify.
Yeah, he's already finished. Parham's already finished his last game. He made a draw, so he's banking on his tie breaks, and I think he's just basically hoping that that not enough people have 6.5, and that his tie breaks are good enough.
I get it. So really only 6.5 has guaranteed themselves anything. So basically people with 5.5, like Grishuk, like Muradli, Esipenko, Bortnik, those people still have a chance.
Those people absolutely still have a chance.
But those are the games we want to focus on, right? We want to focus on Grishuk versus Bortnik.
Well, this is pretty boring. So let's look at what should we look at?
Is it boring? I mean, it could spice up at some point, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if white lifts the rook up to b3, it's Bortnik's fault. He played the exchange French, but so he believes that he's that his tie breaks are good. There's also Jose against Caruana, a game in which the winner with good tie breaks will have a serious shot at it.
Oh, right. Let's Yeah, let's watch that one. That looks actually really good. That's perfect.
Yeah, bishop b6. We have some sort of a weird kind of Ruy Lopez where black has these pawns on h6 and g5. Actually, a very dangerous position. I think Fabi, this is not his style.
Yeah, but he's been, he's been trying to be more aggressive, right? And well, I think in general, he's quite aggressive and rapid, but
yep.
But in this tournament, yeah, we've seen him, like, I would say, take on a lot of risky positions.
Yeah, we've seen him struggle quite a bit in some of those positions as he goes g4 and locks the pawn in with h5. And the typical idea for white in such positions is to push this pawn up to f3 and just sort of explode the king side.
Yeah, that's a really tempting move. I can't really see white doing anything else. I mean, I suppose white can castle, but like I do feel like f3 super tempting.
Yep, and he plays it. And he's trying to exploit also the fact that black has, you know, a bunch of pieces that are sort of stuck on the queen side, although the bishop does aim at the knight.
Yeah, if pawn takes f3, I mean, you literally have a wonderful choice, right? You can take with the pawn, not so bad. On the, I mean, the minus of that is that your knight gets a little stuck, but the plus is that you open the G file. You can take with your queen, you can take with your knight. They're all like possibilities.
Yeah, and just I'm worried about the long-term safety of black's king as the players dip now to 7 minutes on the clock. Rook comes out to c8.
So is that okay? So pawn takes black. Is that like a pawn sack, or does he want to play pawn takes bishop e3, queen e3, knight g4? That must be it.
Oh yeah, that must be it. F takes. This is the idea. Queen takes e3, knight g4, and the queen from d8 defends the g5 square. That's actually very, very important. And somehow black is okay. I mean, maybe the knight can come out to c4. I think it's clear that white is still better here.
He's holding it together. I mean, after castles. Well, okay, there's an interesting exchange sack. I guess you could blunder away the rook on d1.
You could just castle, yeah.
Yeah,
and
there's still compensation.
Take my rook, look at all the squares I have on the king side. And you can see the EWA bar is basically giving equality here. Rook f1 instead by Jose. So interesting decision. He forfeits his right to castle, and he puts all of his eggs in the attack the black king basket with that move, I think.
Yeah, I don't love that move because I do feel like giving up the right to castle.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit dubious, yeah, this rook f1 idea. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I would have looked at like f takes g4 and like try to go down that line that we went in and like, you know, probably not giving up my rook on, you know, d1. I think with that bishop pair, you know, white could have counted on something.
Yeah. Fabi always does have this move, knight a5 to c4, which I think he was partially preparing by sliding the rook from a8 to c8. You know, in general, I think trades would favor black here, would take some of the pressure off of the king. And we'll see what Fabi can come up with here. In other news, we have, okay, queen e7 is Fabi's choice.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought that what you were saying with knight c4, that was making a lot of sense, right? Because the knight's not really very productive on a5.
Right.
Queen e7, I don't know exactly what the point of that is. Okay, it's a general developing move. Queen a7? Is there a queen a7 as an idea?
Oh, hitting the knight on e3.
It's kind of interesting.
Good catch. I did not see that at all. I guess he's trying to force Jospim's hand. Yeah, he wants Jospim to take so that, you know, when the... okay, bishop... Ooh. Very timid looking move, bishop f2. But I think he was worried about the prospect of queen a7.
Yeah, so if we go queen a7, I guess you're taking on g4.
Oh, I'm taking on g4 here, yeah, for sure. hg and knight g4, and I think here everything is protected.
And you're winning a pawn, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So bishop f2 instead. And
so why is black doing so well here?
I guess it's again because of this knight c4 move, which if you're gonna play it, you better play it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, you know, I think I know what it is, Danya. I think it really comes down to this knight on h2, which has not been brought into the game, and it's pretty terrible for the moment.
It's a one-trick pony, literally. I mean, it's just staring at g4, and if you can't make that work, then the knight is totally useless. I agree.
Yeah, knight
Caruana,
like,
there
if
it
you
is.
look at knight takes, like for example, knight takes c4. Probably, I mean, do you think that black will just take with the pawn, or will probably throw in a trade first and then take with a pawn?
Yeah, probably something like this.
Oh, and now white is really going to regret not having castled.
And then black's going to go d5 and start opening up the center. Like you said, exactly exploiting the fact that white's king is the one who could get hunted in the center. So Jose just a little bit imprecise there, a couple of moves in a row. And all of a sudden, it seems like Fabi might be taking over the initiative.
Yeah, I would like to see Fabi qualify to the knockout.
For sure.
That would be cool.
Always fun to
Especially,
watch him in.
yeah, after his heartbreaking game against Paravian.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the last week, Hikaru did win the RCC. And he did benefit from Wesley's internet problems in the 3+2 portion. Wesley disconnected.
Yeah,
That's,
I got to tell you, Danya, in our chat, people are talking about Kramnik and asking why he's not considered one of the greats. And there's some answers like his games were so boring and his chess is dry and uninspiring. That's not actually true about Vladimir Kramnik. You should see his games from the 1990s when he was coming up. He was playing the Sveshnikov for black. He was playing the classical Sicilian for black. I mean, he had all these really, exciting tactical clashes with Kasparov. So I actually got to tell you guys, there was a very strong technical side to his chess. Yes, he was obviously very good at that. Right. But he was also a very good calculator, and he could play dynamic chess as well.
Yeah, I really don't know check out his 2000 World Championship match against Kasparov in London. He beat Kasparov in a World Championship match in 2000, basically at the peak, of Kasparov's career. And in his last couple of years of his chess career, Kramnik kind of switched his style. He started playing e4 again with white. Mm-hmm. And he won some incredible games. So that's total bunk to say that Kramnik is just sort of a boring player. You can't succeed at that level for that long if you're just a one-dimensional, technical player. So he's definitely one of the greats. No doubt about it.
What do we got here? We got Bortnik and Grishuk. Okay, so this game is really spiced up and mostly in black's favor, as white's pieces do look a bit awkward. The rooks are making a really bad impression, staring into the D pawn.
Right. Now, this is a bad position for white because he's got all of his pieces are trained at one pawn. And that pawn is very, very well defended by black. Bortnik is also quite low on time. He's down a minute.
Yeah, he doesn't look too happy with his position. I see him on the camera kind of shaking his head a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be shaking my head too if I had no control over the e-file.
Right. And c6 wins the knight.
Oh no. Oh man, it goes from bad to worse. He just totally.
The knight had only one escape square, and it's c3, and now c6 forces knight c7. And to make matters even worse, black can even go rook c8 and just pick up the knight straight up. Oh, Grishuk's got to see that. No pun intended.
What? He can also just take it with the rook from d7, right?
Oh, and look at this line. After c6, I think Bortnik might want to take on c4. And after dc, knight d6 check, white is actually doing okay. But the problem is that black, I think, has this crazy intermezzo, knight f5.
Wow.
Knight f5 to cover the d6 square. You're attacking the queen, and only then do you take the rook on c4 and you win a full exchange. So that's what's hard to see about it, and that's why Grishuk is spending his time. He's spending a lot of it.
Yeah, he's calculating c6, rook c4, knight f5. Yeah, that is a really nice intermediate move. And if he goes a6. Okay,
all right, missed it. But knight takes c7, no? This is his idea, rook c8. So but now there's b3 maybe?
Yeah, so he wants to take the knight, and how does white protect it? Yeah, so b3, knight a3, king b2. I guess that makes sense, doesn't it? You just got to try b3.
Yeah, I suppose you should, because of course black is threatening to take the knight on c7. And this might be our biggest game right now, because a draw would potentially be disastrous for both players. A win will definitely propel one of them to the top 8.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have Andrei Yesipenko, who is in a critical game against Mohamed Muradli. The winner of this game will also qualify for sure.
That's also, yeah, that's a big one.
But we'll watch Bortnik. I just wanted to pull this game up to alert people that this game is going on. And the winner of this game will qualify as well. Okay, so let's see. By the way, Mishanik, Alexei Serrano won his last round game against Vidit to give himself at least a bit of a chance.
So Esipenko, yeah, he was doing quite well in that position. I guess his chances of qualifying are good. And B3, knight D6, knight takes A6.
Oh my God, 94. Isn't that just a fork?
Played by Bortnik. Yeah, okay, he looks unhappy again.
Okay, Grishuk has to see 94, and he does, and he's going to win. And Bortnik with a huge blunder.
Yeah,
Bortnik we can see him.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's painful because, I mean, the rook is hanging with a check. Okay, that's
what a painful game this is going to be.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. I don't know if there was a way he could have avoided this, but...
Yeah, I mean, his position, I just feel like he adopted the wrong approach, just sort of playing for a draw from the start. And that's really not his style. He's such a dynamic player. And Alexander Grishuk defeating the Exchange French. Bortnik is just going to lose this one. He's down also a minute on the clock. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah. Should we take a look at Esipenko?
Yeah, I guess we can entrust to Alexander Grishuk the rest of this game. This is an easy win. He can move his knight back. Let's switch back to Andrei Yesipenko's game.
Yeah, or he can take the rook.
Okay, Yesipenko's going to win, I think, as well. Or is he? Oh, there's a really cool trick. Bishop G7 here. Queen takes D6, Queen A1 check. And if King H2, I think there's a fork against the queen. So I think Muradli does have Bishop G7 here. Instead, he takes the rook and he loses the game. Now he's going to get mated.
Okay, yeah. Well, that was a bit tricky for him to find, especially with under a minute, right? So.
Ooh, and wait a second. It's not totally over yet.
Yeah, but all of his pawns can now be captured, right? Like G6, E6. Yeah. I mean, okay, he's down a rook, though. He is down a rook.
He is down a rook. And if Black can cover the checks and consolidate his position, he'll have a chance. But look at the clock situation. A full 2 minutes down is Mohamed Muradli. And if Esipenko can keep the initiative going, he should be able to win on the clock, if not on the board.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. I mean, okay, so like knight E6, Queen E7, for example, right? It's not even like exactly clear, although you have a ton of pawns. Like you might actually have 5 pawns for the rook.
Yep. He's taking his time. So he can take on E6 with check, but that would allow the king to run into the corner. King H, probably H7, because King H8 allows Queen takes H6 check.
Yeah, I think he... So what is wrong with knight E6? What is he worried about there?
What is he worried about? Well, we're about to find out. And Queen comes back to E7, a trade on G7, and White leaves himself with a very strong bishop and 5 pawns.
5 pawns, yeah.
5! Bishop F6? Oh, rook D6.
Yeah, wow. That's an important move that Black would have to find there. So it's not actually clear that White is winning because, as long as the queens are on the board and the pawns are not that advanced, Black could even conjure up some counterplay against White's king.
Absolutely. And speaking of conjuring stuff up, he takes the pawn on B6. So that means that any queen trade is going to be really, really bad. Black already has a passer. But here comes Andrei Yesipenko.
His time situation is very difficult. I mean,
and this is such a hard position to play. E6 is coming. I don't see it.
Yeah, don't envy him. Yeah, D5 is a nice move, and those pawns are definitely looking difficult. Even that one move just shaved so much time off of Muradli's clock.
That's it. E6 is over. Knight E6 or Queen H8 was mate, and now E7 is coming.
Nice. He stops Rook B1 mates. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry. E7 would have had a small problem to it.
Yeah, but F4, very careful. Yeah, those pawns turned out to be too good. And yeah, Andrei had a nice technique there.
And he wins the game. And Alexander Bortnik is still trying to hold it against Grishuk, but his position continues to decline. The time would have been his only chance here, but Grishuk with plenty of time to win the game.
Yeah, we got like, oh, Caruana. Caruana is still playing. Actually, let's take a look at Fabi's game.
Yeah, maybe should we? Okay, I guess this one is just
Yeah,
over.
this one I think.
Although knowing Bordnik, okay, no, it's over. Okay, so Fabi's game, yeah. Bordnik's gonna resign. Fabi is in a time scramble. Oh, this is gonna be a close one.
Wow, and the position is completely unclear as well.
Totally unclear. E3 pawns are flying, capturing E7.
Wow, they got
check.
11 seconds. I mean, they're just trying to make the moves and not lose on time.
Now, generally, Jose would be a favorite in a time scramble, but Fabi has gotten a lot faster. You can see that here. Queen E4 pre-moving here, takes, check, trade. Oh, and Jose's going to take all of his pawns.
On the board.
Fabi's going to lose.
Board, but
it's not close.
No. Wow. Oh, Fabi's not happy, not satisfied.
Raising his eyebrows. Damn it. And Jose wins the game, and that's it.
So Jose, is he just well known as a very fast player? That was pretty good stuff from him.
Huge bullet player. And we have our 8. We've got Sevian, Andrakin, Wesley, Malikov, Paravian, and Esipenko, and Grishuk, who've got 6.5. And Parham Maksudlu, he squeezes by with 6 points. Jose missing the qualifier by 0.25 of a tiebreak point. Wow.
Wow. So you called it, Danya. You said, 6 out of 9 generally qualifies. And Maksudlu with his, it feels a little unfair, right? Just from the point of view, like Maksudlu made a quick draw. Right. While Jospim had to beat Caruana just to get to those 6 points. So, I mean, they kind of had a different path. But, okay. I mean, sometimes things are a little bit unfair like that.
Yeah. I mean, tiebreaks are tiebreaks. And that's why 6.5, that's what, really guarantees the qualification. But the tournament held a lot of intrigue until the very, very end. And what a fascinating tournament it was. Now, before we draw our concluding thoughts, it is time for our Coinbase Critical Moment, brought to you by our sponsor, Coinbase. And Irina, I don't think you'll have any objections if we highlight one of the top performances here in the RCC, the record setter Samuel Sevian, who got 7 out of 9, and one of his critical games was against Alexei Serrano. This was a epic theoretical battle, which really started in earnest with this knight sacrifice on F7. And at first we were impressed with Alexei's preparation, but, the really impressive thing was not Alexei's preparation, it was Sam's preparation. Oh, let me go back here.
Yeah, his king got brought out of G8 and went all the way to H6. And he seemed to know all of that. These guys knew at least like 20 moves of theory. But Sam was definitely more familiar with the subtleties of this position.
It was crazy how many impressive moves you remembered here. Knight E5, creating a discovery against the queen. And then bishop to E7, opening up another attack on the queen, covering the check. And then the critical mistake, he gives up the rook on E8. And after queen takes E3 and queen takes E2, we thought that rook had to go to A1. That was the critical move. That would have led to a draw. But he repeats the same mistake that Vincent Keimer made in the first time that this position occurred, allowing the knight to jump into D3. And then allowing Sam Sevian to set up a devastating threat of smothered mate. That meant Alexei had to lose a piece, and Sam Sevian did a good job mopping up the rest of the game. So a win in this game, en route to a 7 out of 9 performance. He will be the top seed in tomorrow's Sunday knockout. And speaking of which, our bracket for tomorrow, Irina, is already prepared. And in front of you, you can see the first round matchups. Which one sort of catches your eye?
All right. Well, what catches my eye here? Definitely, we got the all-Russian matchup, Dmitry Andrakin versus Alexander Grishuk. I think, Wesley So versus Andrei Esipenko, the young Russian player, is also very interesting. Sam against Maksudlu, that will be a good one. And Matlikov Paravian. I mean, Paravian, I don't know, is he a little bit of an underestimated player, right? He's not as well known as these other names. But he got to a very convincing 6.5 points. He, as you mentioned throughout the event, Danya, he was offering some draws that were declined, and he would just go on to beat his opponents.
Yeah, he's all right. You don't want to draw? Yeah, all right, fine. Your loss. David Paravian definitely performs under pressure. He did really, really well the first couple of weeks of the RCC, and the great thing about the Sunday knockout week in and week out is that literally anybody can win. There's a lot of variety. Each time a different player is in good form. And to remind everybody that the Sunday Knockout is an 8-player single elimination tournament. It's 1 10+2 game. The key difference in time control is that there is a 2-second increment tomorrow. Today, of course, was 10+0. And if that game is drawn, then a single bidding Armageddon game is played. I think there's a 3+2 game first before that happens, but there is a tiebreaker in the event of a draw, and it is a knockout bracket, so you do not want to miss the Sunday Knockout. Yeah, if that game is drawn, I apologize, correction, there is a single 3+2 game that is played, and if that is drawn, then there is a bullet game, and only then there is an Armageddon. There's a lot of prizes at stake as well. $7,500 for first place tomorrow. So, Irina, the stakes will be high. Seatbelts will be fastened. It's going to be a fascinating Sunday Knockout.
Yeah, that is a great prize fund. I mean, just to think that Hikaru has won more than $50,000 already playing in these events. Thanks to our sponsor, Coinbase, for sponsoring this generous prize fund and turning the Rapid Chess Championship into such a phenomenal event.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, the Sunday Knockout begins at the same time, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. Mark your calendars. But for now, it's time for us to wrap up. Irina, always a great pleasure to commentate with you. Thank you. Thanks to you. And thank you to everybody in the chat for taking time out of the start to your weekend. Thank you to Matt, our producer, for another excellent show. And for now, we hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. We'll send you over to John Bartholomew, and we will see you tomorrow for the Sunday Knockout at 9 a.m. Pacific. And this, ladies and gentlemen, was the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. See you tomorrow.
The Rapid Chess Championship is brought to you by Coinbase. Whether you're looking to make your first crypto purchase or you're an experienced trader, Coinbase has you covered. You can earn crypto by learning about crypto at Coinbase.com. Explore DeFi and Web3 with your Coinbase wallet. Get exclusive rewards when you spend with your Coinbase card and much, much more. Learn more at Coinbase.com/chess and get $10 in Bitcoin when you sign up and verify your account. Check them out. Use the command sponsor or command Coinbase today and go to Coinbase.com to get that Bitcoin, baby.